Gym sessions and sweaty summer activities are back, which means more funky smells in your clothes because sweat leaves behind bacteria that causes those hard-to-remove odors. Clorox fabric sanitizer products are ready to zap the stink out of fabrics in your home by getting rid of 99.9% of odor-causing bacteria. Eliminate odors in every load or sanitize fabrics between washes with one of our fabric sanitizer products. Search fabric sanitizer at Clorox.com to learn more. When it counts, trust Clorox. Use as directed.
Headlines and hot takes, they have their place. But at our podcast, ESPN Daily, we don't just skim the surface of sports. Dude, I mean, this clearly transcends blood feuds, rivalries, sports. This is something far, far deeper than that. I'm your host, Pablo Torre, and every day, we try to dive into the stories behind the athletes.
The picture of him in the dugout afterwards just looked like a guy who'd had his heart ripped out.
Listen to ESPN Daily wherever you get your podcasts.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, what's up? This is Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin' It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the Implications Matthew Maher from Wrestling Headlines. On today's show, we're reviewing both nights of Wrestle Grand Slam in MetLife Dome, answering listener questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping a Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leave a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/social suplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com. with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. And like you heard in the intro, Young Boy is not here this week. Unfortunately, had a death in the family, so he's going to be out for this week. And we're going to kind of take it week by week to see when he'll be available. So if you thoughts and prayers out to the young boy and his family. Give him your thoughts and prayers, guys, this week. And always tough stuff when that comes to loss and family. But I got my man Imp here from Wrestling Headlines here to come on and talk about Wrestle Grand Slam and all stuff happening in New Japan. Imp, how you doing, man?
Knackered. Bloody knackered. Yeah, this is we're 2 days removed from AEW All Out. I covered it for Wrestling Headlines, and I went live at 5:30 in the morning. So yeah, not recovered. And it makes sense that because I do the Raw reviews as well for Wrestling Headlines. So I wrapped up that about an hour ago. So this is my therapy. This is my recovery. Talk about New Japan.
I don't know how much of a recovery it's going to be.
We're all about that Dick Togo booking. Oh, give us that evil. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, dude. We have a lot of stuff to talk about here with these two Wrestle Grand Slam shows. Before we get into that, real quick, for any new listeners, give your plugs and tell them where they can find you online.
So I am at the Damn Implicat, as damn as in damn, over at Twitter. I don't know what that's at. I don't know why I can say that. And I've checked for New Japan when I go, damn, that's not Farouk, that's Chono. Chono when he goes, god damn. That's it. It works both ways. Also, my columns over at Wrestling Headlines. My latest one, The NXT Era is Dead, went viral on Facebook, which was a very weird feeling. And Facebook people are weird. So, I got called an idiot by a lot of people. Well, what if NXT's not dead? What are you talking about? I said the NXT Era is. Can you read? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. The answer is no, they can't. It's fine. But yeah, also Wrestling Headlines on their YouTube channel. I review Raw. I review pay-per-views when I can. I myself have struggled recently. My father had a heart attack the week of Money in the Bank, so I've just been taking it week by week. He's fine. He's relatively fine now, but that just means I've kind of struggled to find consistency. I've not done like a pay-per-view review. All that was my first one since WWE Backlash WrestleMania, or WrestleMania Backlash, whatever they call it there. So yeah. So I've been a bit 50. I should be back on it now. I'm getting like a new schedule. I should be doing Dynamite as well this week as well. For the first time, an AEW review. Oh, God. Yeah, as you can tell, hyped about AEW. I guess if you're hyped about AEW, listen to other podcasts on this network. We're New Japan, baby.
Oh, yeah. I mean, plenty of AEW hype over at One Nation Radio this week, and All Things Elite, our main AEW podcast on the network. Those guys had, one of the best North American pay-per-views to review and, go crazy about on their shows. And we get to talk about Wrestle Grand Slam in the MetLife Dome. I can't say that it was on the same level. I can't say that it was in the same universe as the quality of AEW All Out. But, let's dive into these shows. Let's work through these. Let's talk about them. I'm sure people are dying to hear what we got to think about Wrestle Grand Slam in the MetLife Dome. So we had night one on Saturday. Show opened up with a pre-show tag match. First time Stardom being aired on NJPW World. We had my girl, Momo Watanabe, teaming up with Saya Kayatami to defeat Lady C and Micah. Imp, did you catch this pre-show match on night one?
I did. So I watched this one live, and because I've not watched like any of the build-up to Wrestle Grand Slam. And tuning in live, I was like, the show's on, I'll just put it on. I had a delivery at like 10 to 8 in the morning or something ridiculous. So I watched Rampage and then went straight to New Japan World. And this was on. I was like, oh, awesome. I had no idea. Especially as it was a surprise to me, because I knew Stardom matches were on the card, but I just assumed it would be normal. I had no idea they were actually going to air, which is a big step forward. Obviously, they're still on the pre-show. So obviously there are still other steps they can take in terms of shows like these. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially right now when we talk about these cards and kind of the quality of them. Would it really be the worst thing in the world to do a Stardom New Japan kind of crossover event? Like, really, would it be the worst? Especially if you give the best that both can offer, you're gonna get a great show.
Yeah, especially since Stardom is on fire this year. People are saying it's Bushiroad's #1 wrestling promotion right now. James Boyd is asking why he isn't on Keeping It Strong Style to cover Bushiroad's #1 promotion, Stardom. Mr. Dr. Joshi himself. But yeah, Stardom has been excellent this year. They're in the middle of the 5-star Grand Prix, and if you're interested in learning more about Stardom, I highly recommend. Like I said, listening to One Nation Radio. They have a Stardom segment every week at the end of their show. Plus, you can hop in our Discord. Link for that's in the show notes, show description for this show. Jump in the Stardom channel, the One Nation Radio channel. I'm sure Rich, James, all the Joshi fans in there would love to get you educated and get you up and going on Stardom.
Yeah, I'm at that point where, in terms of, because I don't check it out super regularly. It's just every now and then if I hear something, I would say if I hear something good, that's pretty regularly I do. But I'm at that point now where it's not great for a podcast where if I see them on the screen, I'm like, oh, I like, you're good. You're really good, you are. But if you tell me their name, it resonates nothing. I've not learned their names yet. So, the one that mostly wears white all the time. Yeah, she's really good. Oh, the green one. Yeah, I'm remembering clothing. I'm remembering faces. hairstyles and whatever, but your names don't resonate with me yet. I've not clicked there.
Yeah.
Aside from like a top few.
Yeah, it definitely takes some time to, like any promotion new, you start to get used to the names. I was watching Stardom for a little bit, so we went New York WrestleMania weekend. They had the Stardom American Dream 2019 Stardom in New York show in Queens that me, Rich Latta, and James Boyd went to, and that show was awesome. That was kind of like our real big like introduction into Stardom and getting to know some of these people, and I tried following it ever since after then because it was an awesome live show. But then, the pandemic hit in, and then New Japan deciding they need to do 100 shows a week. It's kind of hard to watch other things, especially this is a New Japan podcast, and then obviously I love AEW as well. So unfortunately, Stardom's kind of hit the back burner for me. I have seen a little bit of the 5-star Grand Prix. I saw the first 2 nights, so not as into Stardom as I was last year, and as far as knowing all what's going on, but I still recognize most of the key people and kind of have some general sense, thanks to James, of what's going on.
Yeah, I've got a sense, but I've not like actually watched since Tam Meccano, the magnetic toy thing where it was Meccano. We put it together. Anyone needs Meccano in the 90s. Tam Nakano. Oh, Jesus Christ, I've really struggled. I've not watched since she became champion. but I was watching, I think they're building up to that big title change, and I was excited, caught in that hype. And I think the world of Julia. And we get to talk about her, which is great.
All the boys love Julia.
We'll get to it. I found that match surreal in just I'm watching this incredible wrestling to like golf claps and like it's polite applause. This is really weird.
I guess before we dive more into the match, I guess we got to talk about the atmosphere, like you mentioned. So we're in the MetLife Dome, big arena, about 2,000 people spread out through this arena. Can't clap, can't cheer. Can't make any noise. Well, they can clap, but they can't cheer. They can't make any noise verbally. Man, just rough.
Yeah, it was. I guess in terms of these shows and everything, I'd give it the subtitle. Okay, then. It's not really. The shows didn't really feel like there's much of a purpose. In terms of like, was there really a big demand for these shows? And then you look at the way that there's the whole atmosphere there. It never really broke through into like proving the necessity for their existence, which is quite a bar.
I guess from their standpoint, I know that they had announced like the Wrestle Grand Slam stuff in May, and that got pushed back, and then they did do like the makeup Tokyo Dome one. So I guess they want to do another makeup show, and I guess not want to false advertise and kind of fulfill this big dome show that they promised. But at the same time, if you're going to do this show and it's only going to be, 2,000, 2,500 people, what's the point? And I get from a business standpoint, with the pandemic, they have X amount of, tickets that they need to sell to recoup from what they lost in pandemic. But if it's going to be 2,000, run a smaller building. I don't know, go to Osaka Joe Hall, do some other arena that has a less capacity, so it doesn't look as bad if you're only going to have 2,000 people in there.
And 2,000 people that can't make noise. So the atmosphere, it escapes anyway. Like, as we've heard people talk about WrestleMania, the wrestlers themselves say it's really hard to judge whether a match is working because the sound just escapes. And to have that with a small crowd, it must be just so weird. Just especially for when they've booked it for a big dome show and then they can't cheer, anything like that. So it's not like an independent in America where I'm talking about like a big open venue type thing. Because there'll be fans there, they'll be making noise, they'll be responding to what's happening. Whilst this felt more like, because it's respectful Japanese fans applauding what they see, but without the verbal stuff. But it's literally just golf claps. It's really weird. I found it really difficult to get into. like more difficult than when it was empty arena and it's Hiromu just tossing himself all over. Like a crazy man.
Yeah, I mean, this dome can hold up to like 35,000 people, and it had attendance about like 2,500 for both nights, and they're spread out. They don't, there's some people that are up, in higher seats. I don't know why. And yeah, it was just not a great look, a great atmosphere. It just felt dead. It felt like going to your town's local indie, in an empty, bingo hall where there's like 50 people. Nobody knows who's on the card. Nobody's making any noise or reacting.
It was strange because I thought that at the Tokyo Dome show as well, when they had people like in the stands like far back. I was just like, why? Just fill out the floor seats. It's really weird.
Yeah, that's one of the things with New Japan that they don't kind of do what other wrestling companies do. As far as like a production look, for example, WWE, if they go to an arena and they don't sell it out, they're going to tarp off the empty sections. They're going to move people down. They're going to pack people in front of the hard cam to make you think it's sold out. Just like when we went to G1 in Dallas, also they did not sell that show out. There's still a good sized crowd. They could have moved more people down. They could have tarped it down. They could have built a bigger stage to kind of help fill out the arena, but they didn't do that. And so same thing here with MetLife Dome and Tokyo Dome. Even in Cork and Hall, for some of the shows that they've been running for Cork in the pandemic, you have people that are kind of like randomly spread out through the arena. It's like, I get it. Maybe they paid for a certain seat or section, but just move them in, move them down, move them closer, tighten it up, and make it look like it's somewhat full, especially since we're not going to be able to get audible noise. At least the clapping can be more of a sound together and instead of all spread out.
Like a few people really optimistic in the current state going, trust me, guys, this is good. You want to be in the stands. It's gonna set out. Just pure blind optimism.
Did you watch either of these nights live, or did you watch them like on demand later?
I watched night one live, then night two. I think I was just getting ready for All Out, so I was making assets for the review and stuff like that. Really happy with what I produced. I thought it looked great, but yeah, still I was like photoshopping and stuff, so I didn't watch it live. I watched night two about 5-6 hours ago. I think. After you messaged me.
I watched night one live as well, and then I caught night two like a few hours after it ended. But yeah, and for me, night one, it was like a 4 a.m. Wake up time, and man, it was a little bit rough, and maybe that affected the way I saw some of these matches. But I was trying to go in with some positive energy, but didn't really last long. But let's get back to this pre-show match. So we have Momo and Saya versus Lady C and Micah. What do you think about this match?
Yeah, this was. I think I've got a more positive look at it purely because it was pure surprise that there was a Stardom match airing. But yeah, this was obviously the second night's match. They were kind of saving for that one. But there were some nice displays in here. I don't remember seeing Lady C. I must have, because everybody was on that card. The last day I watched, everyone was there. This is what I mean, but I'm just not remembering people.
Well, I feel like there has been a lot of new people that have come in within the last year as well, or at least people maybe people elevated. Because when I was really paying attention, I don't remember a Lady C also at all. It was only until listening to One Nation Radio, like hearing Lady C and who she was. So.
Okay, I feel a bit better now. That's right. But yeah, I think I knew everybody else though, and it felt more like into the like nice little showcase kind of feel to it. I say like the past specials have. I haven't watched them. I don't know what I'm talking about because they didn't air. But what I assumed they would feel like, where it's a kind of special match where it's decent and it's fun enough to watch, but if nothing's going to blow your socks away, it's more of a look what we can do type of thing. And then they blow you away on night two.
Right. It's definitely kind of like, give them a little taste, give them an introduction, get your spots in. There's a lot of great moves here. including the closing move from Kamatani, the Phoenix Splash that got the win for the Queen's Quest team there. So yeah, this was a great little introduction into Stardom, like you mentioned. Good preview for night 2 where we saw a little bit more of the action there. So I'm all for them continuing to highlight Stardom on these cards. Same big parent company, why not highlight them? So I think it's a good move here.
100%, yes. Feature them more often. Don't have to wait for these big specials. You got 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. You got to fill it with something. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we did have a question from Dom Homie 101 asking if there are any possibility that we see more Stardom matches on New Japan shows in the future. And I think so, especially now with them both being owned by Bushiroad. I just think it makes a ton of sense because obviously right now New Japan has the bigger audience, has 100,000 people on New Japan World subscribers. So that's a whole new set of eyeballs that are probably seeing Stardom for the first time, or maybe they kind of halfway pay attention, and now is a full spotlight moment for them to check it out and get invested in that show as well.
I personally wouldn't mind. This is me being Western, watching what things are happening over here in the West with our streaming services. I was would it be the worst thing to have Stardom and New Japan World together on a Bushiroad streaming servicey thing where it so happen if they happen to acquire more companies, they could also stream on there. Just a thought that just to get that exposure out there for Stardom just even more, because even though New Japan are the big one, we're at that point where, as Jamie was saying, that Stardom is on a strong run, and now be a pretty good time just to show them, put them somewhere on a bigger stage. For me, it's Wrestle Kingdom. They've got 3 nights, and who knows what the pandemic status will be.
Right.
Imagine 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, and they can't have Western talent on it, or it's limited. But that is going to sting hard. Use Stardom. Jesus, please don't make us sit through something else.
Yeah, I would love if Stardom World and New Japan World just kind of combined into one Bushiroad World service. I think the main issue might be the TV contract, which is when the issue why Stardom hasn't been able to air on New Japan World for the past. TV Asahi mainly does New Japan, I believe. Maybe it's a Bima or another TV company, I'm not 100% sure, does Stardom, and so there's a lot of issues on what can air where and stuff like that. So I think that's the major holdup right now of them potentially.
The laws are a lot more strict and they're so different in Japan. The copyright is it doesn't compute with Western internet. It's the best way to put it.
Especially when it comes to screenshots. TV Asahi has been on just a hot streak this year of flagging Twitter accounts who have been that post screenshots of the live recordings, and so TV Asahi definitely cracking down.
One of my most popular tweets was me just announcing Jay White had become champion. It's just please don't. Just look at my best tweet most recently, which was me just posting the interview of walking up to Matt Riddle like a crab. It's just hilarious.
That tweet is hilarious.
I finally figured out Twitter with that one.
Oh man. So let's move on now to the first match that was on the main card of night 1. The Flying Tigers, Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask, they defeated the LIJ team of Bushi and Hiromu Takahashi, 11 minutes and 40 seconds.
Kind of similar. In terms of me reviewing this, it's kind of similar to the Stardom match, where it's a taste of setting up for night 2, really. It's your. We were talking about G1 Climax, I think, just before we came on air, and we're this is the preview tag for the next night. There's not much else to review. That's pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's a highlight of just kind of seeing Hiromu and Robbie Eagles in there. I thought all 4 guys worked really hard here. A lot of great counters. Robbie Eagles gets the win for the team. He does the springboard drop kick to Bushi's knee, hits him with a turbo backpack, locks in the Ron Miller special to get the ref stoppage and the win for the team. So Eagles kind of going in with the momentum into the tag match. That's kind of what I mentioned last week. I definitely felt whether or not he was going to win on night 2, I definitely felt he needed to win here just because I think Hiromu was going to be the favorite on night 2 and just to give him some more momentum going into that night.
Yeah, and it's set up well. Because the thing about these tag matches quite often, if you've seen the G1 as well, they'll have sequences and the wrestler will learn they'll set up a thing they do in the match. It's like, what's going to happen here? We saw him reverse it the night before, that sort of thing. Little tidbits, which is why it's often worth watching these tag matches. Or with the G1, you get more out of the match itself if you were to watch this. That's why I compared it to G1 match. It's pretty much that idea, really.
Yeah. So then the following match, we had the big grudge match, the battle of Roppongi 3K, the battle for Karen Sensei's heart. Sho versus Yo. Sho coming out, new look, new music. He defeats his former partner Yo by ref decision, 24 minutes, 41 seconds. So, Imp, what do you think here, man? We have Sho, new music, new look, and the House of Torture rears its ugly head. Sho is now a part of the Bullet Club. What are your thoughts on this match, the angle, everything that went down here?
Right, so there's a lot to address. It's fair to say a lot. Right, so first off, what is that face Sho is pulling? What is he doing? It's like he's the way he pulls it is like he's trying to focus on like 2 things at once, but your eyes can't do it. So it's like one's like, ooh. It's really weird. Like he's got a lazy eye. It's really strange. I don't know what he's doing. It's the evil school of just go a bit emo with it. It's Sho, but it's the emo version of him. The hair's kind of just down a bit more across, and he's wearing dark clothes now. He's a bit of a goth, and he's just slower with it. It's the recent heel turn. Whilst I'm figuring this out, I'm just gonna do everything I do normally, but slower, with more stomping and pull a face at the crowd in between doing moves to really slow it down. So it's then there's the House of Torture, which is. A whole thing in it. I feel like I want to talk about Sho, talk about the match, and then I'll get to House of Torture. Okay. But yeah, so in terms of presentation of Sho, he's when the match actually happens, like he's still Sho, and obviously it was great. I like this match. It wasn't anything groundbreaking or insane, but for me, it fulfilled the purpose it set out to serve. And I'll give it applause for that.
Yeah, I like the match also. I know I saw a lot of people kind of not as high on the match, and also we had the angle and the ref bumps and the interference at the end. But I thought the match started off really hot. You had Yo coming out there, and they're going straight at it. You know, a lot of times in other companies we see grudge matches, and they start with a collar elbow tie up, and they're slapping on a headlock for 10 minutes. It's like this is supposed to be a blood feud. So these guys came out here, they were swinging, very hard hitting towards the beginning, very aggressive, and then getting to the middle of the match, it definitely slowed down as Sho was working over the arm and just kind of really grinding Yo down and getting heat. But I thought the end kind of picked back up until we got the angle, but I still thought like this match was more of like an extended angle than it was like a blow-off match or anything.
Yeah, that's quite good. Because after I finished it, I was like, I would have no idea how I would rate that because I still enjoyed it and I've still given it thumbs up for what it accomplished. But I don't know how I would definitely. Yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. Is like the extended kind of angle. But yeah, it's mostly thumbs up, and I guess a lot of the negatives come from the House of Torture stuff more than the match itself. Right. And that shows different presentation. Obviously it's early days. It's pretty early. But the fact that this seems, I guess, I don't want to do bad thing done by Booker, therefore Booker bad. I don't want to do that because obviously That's not true. It's like, yes, but people can write bad things, but they can also write good. So not Booker, not bad. It's the thing bad, not Booker. But yeah, this feels like another. Let's push evil to the moon. Let's give him his own sub faction. Yes. Oh yes, people will love that. Yes, his own little version of a Buddy Club thing. Yes, that'd be brilliant.
Well, yeah, the reports that are coming out is that, Dick Togo has been gaining a lot more influence on the creative, and it was his idea for Show to join Bullet Club, to do this House of Torture idea to kind of push evil again. I don't know what it is, but Dick Togo is obsessed with trying to get New Japan to push evil. He was pushing for evil to win the title on night 2 for a short, quick title reign and drop it back to Shingo. And he wants these guys to focus on heat and character work, and it's just a hot mess right now in that booking room.
Yeah, and it's on camera. You can see it. It's the way the show comes. It feels disjointed and a bit jarring in places. It's not quite gelling perfectly. It's not firing and flowing on all cylinders. Obviously, there's a bigger context, which is totally understandable. Then, of course, the little gag Jeremy did earlier was like, but they have kept running like 100 shows a month. It's not gone, maybe we should just slow down a little bit. It's like, no, let's do more shows than we used to. That's the idea. But I feel like I like Show. And once he gets to be showcased a bit more in this role, I feel like I'll gel with it a bit more. I'm not somebody who gets immediately turned off a wrestler because there's constant interference on their behalf. I can still enjoy those matches. Like, even with Evil, a sign I could do it was I think it was his first defense against Hiromu. I loved that match. Yeah. I thought that was fantastic.
That was like the only good match from that run.
Yeah. But it proved it can be done. Yes, Hiromu is a special wrestler, but it proved it can be done. The heat generated, the hot fire with Hiromu, the beloved response from the crowd. Like, Hiromu was the most popular person on earth, which also means Evil's doing his job, because for Hiromu to get to that point. But yeah, the majority of the matches, he's never reached that point since. It's fair to say, and the idea of him as a champion, because apparently the word coming out was Dick Togo wanted Evil to win on night 2, have a very short reign, and then Shingo wins it back. To which Gedo was more like, let's just have Shingo keep it then. Let's not do that. Yeah.
Thankfully, Gale still had some sense and was like, nah, player, we're not doing that.
What was the gif I saw? Oh, it was the guy going, whoa, hold on, now you got too much dip on your chip.
This whole House of Torture stuff. This is rough. But back to the match. So, Show, there was a ref bump. He gets a chair in the ring. At one point, Yo gets a chair, and he's kind of teasing like he's going to hit Yo with it, but he just couldn't bring himself to hit his former tag team partner. He goes for the direct drive, but Show hits a low blow. He grabs the chair, hits it over Yo's head, and then he puts Yo into a triangle choke. Ref stoppage. Show gets the big win here, and then post-match, Evil comes out with Dick Togo and Yujiro, and they hand him a House of Torture Bullet Club shirt, and shows that Show is now Bullet Club, which I think was pretty, much set once he came out. Like, you hear the music, and it's like, it kind of sounds like Evil's music. Then he comes out and he's wearing like Evil-like robe and colors, and I'm like, everybody's like, oh yeah, Show's joining United Empire. As soon as he walked out, I'm like, this man is joining Bullet Club, isn't he? And lo and behold, the House of Torture, and that is the best faction name for these set of wrestlers, the House of Torture, because all these men torture us with their wrestling. Dick Togo tortures us with his booking ideas, his creative, quote unquote creative ideas. Poor Show. He's going to have to carry this unit alone.
Poor Show. The men that are with, was it Togo, Evil, Yujiro, and Show?
Yeah.
It doesn't jump off the page. Yeah, I mean, yes, Show feels like the highlight of that little group, and if it elevates Show, I'm not. It's like, if it serves it's one of those things again. If it serves its purpose, can I go too crazy on it? But then I think how many Evil matches are going to have to sit through this G1? It's like,
right.
Yeah, I can whinge. I'm British. We're born for this.
Yeah, and the reports are saying, too, and a lot of this comes from voicesofwrestling.com. Joe Lander, you check out his Patreon there. He gets a lot of inside news going on in the wrestling world. And so part of that report was talking about, Show also kind of being, not totally thrilled to join Bullet Club and have to do all this, cheating and shenanigans, but at the same time excited to get the singles push. And, Gato was kind of reluctant on breaking up Roppongi 3K. But Show and Yo were down fit. They both want to be single stars. But, yeah, I just don't know. This is the right way to get Show over, especially once we saw Show in some single moments. The feud with Shingo Takagi the last couple of years and some of the stuff that he's been doing in Best of Super Juniors and singles matches when Yo has been out. It's very clear that Show could be like a hot babyface star.
So I think we're all... I was a bit worried of a thing that we've seen from WWE quite often, where because you're expecting one person to do the turn, because it just would make sense, they do the other one because you're not expecting it. When the reason you think it would be the other is because it would make sense. There's that story there. The amount that Show impressed and Yo coming back and the team just not clicking, but Show still getting all of this praise. It would make sense that would hurt Yo. It would make all the sense in the world. So the fact that they went the other route and had Show turn instead, I'm kind of with you that we saw how incredibly strong Show could be, and feels like naturally you'd get more of a kind of babyface reaction purely because of what we've seen, because he was there, Yo coming back, and he being the one that would reach the end. For me, it made more sense in my head, and I was about to jump further ahead into the questions. Actually, I'll hold off. But yeah.
Go ahead. So we had a question here from Hawaiian Punch BB. He says, "What's next for Yo?"
Yeah, which is what I was mid-sentence about to fall into. But yeah, that's a really good question, because after this, it's like, well, Show's joined the club, the Tortured Boys, and so he's kind of like left now in chaos without really much of a direction. And while that's why like him, like if it was Yo to join Bullet Club and Show was the one with that fight, suddenly, because we've seen the Show without Yo already, you're not asking these questions. You already know. We're a bit in the dark here with this one. I assume Yo's just going to chaos about, have Best of the Super Junior performances, eventually go for the title. Maybe Show going for the junior title might be the thing that triggers it. Personally, I want to see Show in that. And me already, I want to see him in the Never Boys spot, just tearing it up there.
I think.
Aside from that, I don't know what's next for Yo.
Yeah, I think Yo needs to leave Chaos. Not saying he needs to turn heel or anything, but I just feel like he's just kind of stagnant there in Chaos, and I feel like this, Roppongi 3K breakup is kind of like, I don't know. I feel like Chaos is just up in flux right now, and I feel like he needs to kind of leave Chaos and join maybe a stronger unit, that will have his back more. I think it would be pretty cool to see him join like LIJ. He has that Mexico influence from their time, and him and Show did excursions in Mexico as Fusion and Raijin in CMLL, and I believe there was some Naito looking had some interest in Yo as a young lion as well. So they can kind of, make that all kind of full circle, which I thought was going to happen on night 2 when we had the LIJ, run out. I was like, oh, that'd be cool if like Yo kind of came out to like fight off Bullet Club and align with LIJ. But maybe that's something down the line. But yeah, I think he needs to change something up now since with this Roppongi 3K breakout, or else he's just going to fall stagnant and he's going to become the Marty Jannetty, like we said, that we joke about. That could really happen if they don't do something different with this guy.
Not only did you say a better a better idea than I did, he'd made a better pun than I was going to make. My joke idea was you could form a tag team within Chaos and call it Yo Shihashi. Amazing.
The t-shirts will print itself with that team name.
Yo Shihashi. It's just. I tried to go for the cool, like, hey yo.
Next question here from Mark Nato 90 says, reports today that Dick Togo is pushing for Show to work a similar style to Evil. Do you see Show winning Super Juniors and becoming Evil Junior?
I mean, not literally. That'd be shit. But in essence, it's possible. Yeah, it is possible. And that will give our answer for what happens to Yo if we have a Show and Yo junior title match at one of the Wrestle Kingdom days. That gives us something. I feel like there's a bigger match you can put on than that, but I don't know. I feel like there's a few juniors you could elevate. I feel like Hiromu is so incredibly popular. Do you just for a little bit test him slightly higher up? I don't mean like permanently, but I don't know. Ligad has had different runs throughout the company. He could try. He doesn't have to always be in the junior scene. He can kind of have a little taster elsewhere, and then he can give Show time to Show and Yo to do their little thing in that division. I don't know if it is a mistake to keep him wrestling Yo. Because, again, that's a WWE trope. You enter a feud, you wrestle them for eternity. It's over and over.
Well, luckily we have G1 coming up, which will take up the next 2 months, and juniors are not going to be on this tour, so there'll be a little bit of break for the next time we see these guys. They're probably not going to wrestle again till the Super Junior Best Super Junior tournament happening at the end of this year. But as far as Show winning the tournament, I think it really all depends. I know we're seeing this kind of power struggle in the booking right now with Dick Togo and Gato and kind of the direction things are going to go. And I'm sure if it was up to Dick Togo, he would want one of his guys to kind of get the full push and win the tournament. But there's also the Desperado and Hiromu story that they told in last year's finals, and a lot of people were expecting a title rematch at some point this year. So also we talked about 3 domes. I feel like a Hiromu Despi match is one of the biggest possible matches you can do for the junior title.
Yeah, it felt I suddenly felt it when Despi came out. It's like, yeah, he feels like a somebody within this division. It feels like a big name. He's got a presence to him now, which is great. It's great to see, given how low down in Suzuki-gun he was for so long. He generally does have a presence about him. And yeah, I totally agree. It's the biggest match they can do. No knock on Bobby Eagles. He's putting on great stuff. But in terms of like high caliber kind of names and matchups you can do for Wrestle Kingdom, yeah, totally agree.
And yeah, I'll be very disappointed if we get a Super Juniors full of Show, low blowing, ref bumps, garrote wires, juniors getting choked out. Like, that's awful. Like, nobody wants to see that. So hopefully it's not as bad as Evil. But yeah, not looking forward to seeing Show adapt this new, getting heat directive from Mr. Dick Togo.
I mean, he gets heat from me for whatever face he's putting in his entrance. What is that face? What is it? It's the mystery. It's the mystery that you don't know what it is. That's what it is. It's the mystery of the show. What is behind those eyes?
Last question here from Donovan 101. Any thoughts of the overall match between Yo and Show? What does the future look like for both guys? And which was better between Prince Devitt versus Kitaguchi at Invasion Attack 2014 or Show at Wrestle Grand Slam?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, Prince Devitt and Taguchi had an atmosphere. And I think that's just going to automatically elevate it.
And plus, Devitt turning on Taguchi is what caused AEW to happen. So,
yeah. So long-term storytelling.
That whole feud is responsible for the hottest North American company right now. So, I'm gonna go with that match. But yeah, like you mentioned, it doesn't have the atmosphere. There's just so much different going on in 2014 that's happening right now in 2021. So yeah, I would go with Devitt and Taguchi. And we kind of already gave our thoughts on the match. And, going forward, I think, like I said, I think Yo just needs to do something else and shake it up and really, do something to break out. And it seems like Sho's just going to be stuck, being the, head Bullet Club heater in the junior division.
Even tighter pants. That's what you should do. I don't know if it's possible, but if he's gonna go full yo.
Well, let's talk now about the KOPW I Quit match with Toru Yano defeating Chase Owens 28 minutes in 3 seconds.
I like how you've in these notes you got title change written in all capitals with 3 exclamation marks for this match.
well, the secret is I copy a lot of stuff from Cage Match, so that's what they do. They do like the title change, all caps, 3 exclamation. It was not because I was excited.
Oh my god!
about this match.
I've heard you talk about these ones of matches before. This was more of that, and even. I will say, I like the idea of old school Toru Yano, of Great Bash heel Toru Yano. I don't like the idea of it going 30 minutes. It would have been like normal King of Pro Wrestling length. Just, 10 at most. Just pure pure go at it for this amount of time.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I originally didn't think this match was that bad. Like I see a lot of people going 1 stars and burying it completely, saying it's the worst New Japan match ever. And I'm starting to realize because I was a little sleepy being up watching the show. I'm thinking that I might have fallen asleep in the middle of this match and woke back up and was like, hey, that wasn't that bad.
They were on the outside for ages, so there's a chance.
Honestly, all I really remember from this match was Chase doing that package pile driver to Yano on the tables and them not breaking.
Again, I liked the idea, but the amount of time for me, I was bored by the end of it, which isn't a great. And I'm doing other things. I'm checking Twitter. I've zoned out the match, which isn't a great sign. Really, and I'm a massive Toru Yano fan. I love me some Toru Yano. He is if I'm making a G1 block, Toru Yano is my first pick. I'm putting him somewhere in there. He is perfect for the G1. For me, he's one of the MVPs every single year. I love that man. But I was bored in this match. I stopped paying attention, which kind of says something given how highly I rate him. It was fine to begin with, but it just didn't finish, which is a bit of a shame, really. King of Pro Wrestling shouldn't be getting 30 minutes.
Right. I mean, they have already established that KLPW is kind of a opening card, light kind of comedy act gimmick. It's not to be taken seriously whatsoever. And now they try to take it seriously and gave it way too much time and, just kind of bogged this card down. Before we started recording, we were kind of talking about the, pros and cons of pandemic shows. And we were talking about, G1, one of the pros is, you're mainly just getting the tournament matches, no undercard. But one of the cons is you have to fill time. So a match like this on a normal non-pandemic card would probably have gotten 10 minutes, if that. But now on this pandemic card where it's one of the featured matches, it has to get close to 30 minutes.
Which sucks really. Is it the longest match on this card? I think it
is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's the longest match of the night, which is ridiculous. It didn't warrant a time that long. And again, my kind of side in that is I zoned out. It slowed down a bit too much for me.
Yeah, and I'm pretty confident I fell asleep in the middle because I've had to because I was like, this wasn't so bad. I keep seeing reviews and I'm like, I don't remember half of this stuff. Oh man, this was not good. Man, lost for words at just how rough this was.
Yeah. Not great. Not great, no.
We had a question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. He says, Yano almost gouged out the eye of Chase Owens. Will we see a future matchup with Tyler Black in an eye for an eye match?
And I wrote next to it in the in the notes, just yes. Yes. That is the next step. It's King of Pro Wrestling. There's a time and a place for a silly gimmick like that, and King of Pro Wrestling is that time and is that place. you can do it.
Yeah, so for those who didn't see it, Yano, he pulled out a pair of scissors, kind of linking back to, the Great Bash Heel days where he cut Hiromu's hair as a young lion, and he was threatening to gouge out Chase Owens' eye with the scissors, which Chase finally said he quit. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, you might as well. Let's get Seth Rollins on a plane. Let's do this eye for eye match here. Main event.
Surround the ring with spiky things. Just let's go.
Main event of the third night of the Dome.
I mean, it's Tyler Black. You promote that.
Next question here from Zach Porter. This is actually supposed to be up on the Bullet Club match with Show and Yo. It's factoring in the formation of House of Torture. Would you say that Yo was the real winner in losing the show?
I mean, the fact that we were saying we can't see any direction for him. What does he do? Probably not, I guess. I mean, once the junior tags, and once we get towards that run towards Wrestle Kingdom, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if Show might lose a bit of momentum if, like we were saying, there's that fear of just he becomes Evil Junior and he just does what Evil does, and this match has just become a bit. That's the worry. That's the worry. I feel like the other Bullet Club members that show how to integrate it really well, like El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori, which you get to talk about later. They integrate doing the heel stuff really well, but without going a bit too far the other way, which kind of Evil does. They show the balance can happen. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I think Yo could end up the winner here, because even if Show does have some good matches and he kind of integrates the cheating, kind of like you mentioned, like ELP and Taiji doing their matches, he's still going to be bogged down with the House of Torture. He's still going to be associated with Evil and Dick Togo and Yujiro, and you're guilty by association. So the whole reputation of those guys are going to bring him down no matter what he does. So I think in the end, Yo does end up winning. He can have good matches without interference and cheating and telling a story and making quote unquote moments. So yeah, I think Yo might be the winner here. He also asked, would you consider Okada the worst faction leader, considering all the, no pun intended, chaos that happened under his watch? Examples of Jay Gato leaving, Roppongi 3K split, and Bill just being himself, etc.
He sucks at spotting someone that would turn on him. Like, really? You recruited Jay White? Really? you deserve that one. In kayfabe, I guess yes, because people keep turning on him. Or is he so good that people want to make a name for themselves via him?
I think Okada is the New Japan version of Sting, where people just kept
turning. Lex.
Yeah. I don't know. Like we've been saying for the last year or so, Chaos has just kind of been up in flux. It doesn't even really feel like a faction. You really don't see them kind of as a unit, really. I mean, you kind of have the six-man champs doing their own thing. Okada's doing his own thing. Robbie Eagles is doing his own team with Tiger Mask, Junior Champ. Like, they're all over the place and not really like a collective unit. So, we talked about, Yo leaving. I just think there needs to be probably just a whole shakeup in the faction system. And I think Chaos just needs to either like kind of blend into Hantai, which pretty much is already doing, or like, you have somebody with another person turn within Chaos, but takes over the group and boots Okada out.
Like, in terms of like the structure of it as well, I think in terms of Evil as well, I have him split from Bullet Club. I don't, especially as when Jay gets back. What you got? That's the caveat there. You can you can use him right now to kind of keep the group alive, give them a bit of purpose. But once Jay can be fully back, then I don't quite see the point of even being in the group. And I'm not a massive fan of a faction having sub factions within it. I feel like you've reached a point then. You've gone too far NWO. Just rein it back.
Yeah.
Or split them off for me.
Yeah, the news report that came out from Joe Lanza also included that, the Dick Togo's idea is for House of Torture to break off and you do another Bullet Club Civil War, like what they try to do with the Elite and the Firing Squad back before they left New Japan.
Because I mean, I look at other stuff and like the people Jay White's recruiting, like for Bullet Club and his version of Jay White. I thought his version of Jay White, his version of Bullet Club, like Chris Bay is a fantastic recruitment. He is amazing. Obviously, as someone who watched with the New Japan stuff, if we get to see Chris Bay a little bit more, I'm not going to complain. I think he's an amazing addition to the Bullet Club. Would love to see. He's the perfect kind of cockiness. You can see why Jay White would like him. And so that kind of gets me excited. But yeah, anyone associated with the House of Torture, it just it feels. Which is why I want to split off a bit. I think Bullet Club is fine without the House of Torture people there. The faction feels strong. It feels like they've got an identity to them without that group of people.
Yeah, and I'm not really thrilled about seeing a Bullet Club Civil War between those two units there. So I guess we'll see what eventually does end up happening. But yeah, I feel like even from the start, Evil should have probably just started a new faction when he left LIJ. I understand that they were trying to find like a figurehead for Bullet Club while Gaijins couldn't get in and Jay couldn't get in. But I just feel like for his character and for what they're doing with him, it would have made sense right from the beginning to give him his own new faction and not just take over Bullet Club.
You know what? I'd be fine with a split with no animosity. Evil just gives in his keys. It's just to the Bullet Club house. I'm kayfabing it. He just literally just a video package where he just gives over all his Bullet Club stuff and they just amicably leave with no beef whatsoever. It's perfectly fine.
What I want is a Ruby Soho like video package of Evil getting on a train and just never coming back.
Leaving the other three in disarray. What do we do?
No, yeah. Take Dick Togo with him. Let's move on to the semi-main event here from night one. We had the Aloha Maker, Jeff Cobb, with Great Okan defeating Kazuchika Okada 27 minutes, 41 seconds.
Yeah, I love these matches between these two. I feel like I'm already at this point where, because we saw this not that long ago, back in Tokyo, when I saw it, I wasn't hyped for this match, even though like it's Cobb versus Okada. Whenever they wrestle, it's great. But it's just because we've seen it so recently that I didn't really have any hype for it. And then they had a great match. A lot of it felt very similar to their last match. So again, nothing has really blown me out of the water. But then Okada is where he is in this company for a reason. You get to the final 5-10 minutes of the match and he just suckered right in. There's so many counters. It's going crazy. And then you have that ending of this special thing that New Japan do, which I have to slam on WWE for whenever I watch this. The wrestlers are having their match, and on this occasion, on their second match, Jeff Cobb was like, well, last time this happened, so I'm going to do something different this time. And he wins. Like, for me, this is how you 50-50 book. You do it over, you have if you're going to have two matches close to each other, still make sure it's months apart, not next week, and they don't then wrestle the week after either. and you have them like learn from the previous match. And I think that was my favourite part when it hit that final sequence and you saw similar sequences the last time playing out, but this time Cobb had learned and he adapted and did something new. And that's where the Okada special really comes in, because you think, oh, Cobb's countered it, but then Okada will counter back. And he hit an amazing string, and Cobb's got to really work for that win. I'm all in on whenever it comes. I just love Okada when he gets those final 5 minutes. It's so special, And on a stage like this against an opponent like Cobb, I really like that they gave him the win here as well. Kind of whilst we're saying this quite a bit, but whilst the leader's away, kind of re-establish somebody else. It sucks. It's the kind of era we're in. Like this G1 is missing a lot of heavy hitters. You can sense it, but they're doing a good job of Jeff Cobb. If there's one bright side, it's that Jeff Cobb gets a bit of a beefy push off of this.
Yeah, we've been talking about it all this year. Cobb's been absolutely killing it this year since turning heel, joining the United Empire. He's really figured out some of the stuff he was missing in his initial run in New Japan as a babyface. So yeah, loving Cobb, and I love the Cobb-Okada combination. I do think the Tokyo Dome match was better than this match, but I think part of this, why I didn't like this match as much as part of it was the atmosphere. It was just so dead, especially after following that KOPW match. I think really kind of hurt many people's attention or just will to even get into this match. But I thought it was really good, and there was just a lot, like you mentioned, it's a lot of innovative counters. I love the spot where Okada's going for his signature dive over the guardrail, and Cobb just catches him in midair, then slams him down. That was an awesome spot, and Cobb has had a lot of just awesome moves like that, where he's just kind of catching Okada out of midair and just slamming him.
Really strong. And I think I just talked about it already with the adaptations of Cobb and the way it fed into the ending. I was a massive fan of.
Yeah, the huge avalanche tour of the islands from the top, followed by the regular tour of the islands. Yeah, that was a cool little finishing combo right there. Gets Cobb his first single win over Okada, and kind of a really big win for Jeff Cobb, and just kind of shows you where the company sees him right now. Because at first he was just kind of a mid-card never guy that will kind of go back and forth with Goto. Now he's beating the ace of the company. And like I said last week, I think he's going to be somebody to keep your eyes out for in G1. I think this is a year for him to make a run. I could see him potentially ending with 10, 12 points, being one of those guys that's at the top of his block.
I can't tell if he's going to have the Ishii run or the true contender at the end, because Ishii normally finishes upper middle with a load of classics under his belt, as in impressive. He's one of the MVPs. People are talking about him, but he wasn't near the top winning. I can't decide if he's going to be that or he's going to have. I think he's definitely going to have the best G1 he's had so far. I feel like that's not with it. Not it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
Excited.
And we had a question from Dom Homie 101. So the English commentary comments about Okada's lack of leadership. Is it possible that the comments could be a tease for a storyline in the near future?
I mean, it does kind of feel like Chaos has served its purpose in New Japan. It's around because it's Chaos, rather than it feels like it serves a strong purpose. It's there because it's there. And that's not always a great reason to kind of keep it there.
It's there because they sell Chaos towels.
Yes, Yano sells DVDs, which to be fair, probably continue to happen anyway. I mean, you can always create something new, do something else. It doesn't have to be purely Chaos. The ones that are more that Okada likes more specifically could kind of. To be fair, that's what Chaos mostly is nowadays. They're not want to be heavily recruiting. They're not like Bullet Club. It's fair to say. But they're not like LIJ either. I think one part of it is LIJ has such a strong identity that Chaos just feels a bit weak in comparison. They're just a bunch of baby faces.
Yeah, I feel like all the other factions, like LIJ has a strong identity, Bullet Club has a strong identity, United Empire has a strong identity, and then you get Chaos, and it's just kind of like, what's going on here?
It's just a bunch of guys having fun. They love to have fun. That's it. There we go. I found it. There we go. They love to have. It's the best wrestling character descriptor you hear all the time. They just love to have fun. That's what they are.
Well, let's move on to the main event of night one here. We had the IWGP United States heavyweight title on the line here as the champion, Hiroshi Tanahashi, in his first defense since winning the title at Resurgence from Lance Archer. He defended the title here against his tag team partner, the Golden Ace, Kota Ibushi. Ibushi's first match back after suffering from pneumonia and being out for such a long time here. What do you think of this matchup here? 17 minutes, 47 seconds, kind of a shorter main event in the New Japan world.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything near these two's best, given the circumstances. It was fine enough. It felt more like a Tanahashi match to me, and that's something I'm very familiar with in terms of the rhythm of, to the point now where it kind of feels, when I say it feels a bit formulaic, I still mean I enjoy it. I don't mean it like when it cites WWE and I'd say that. I don't mean it like that. I mean, I was trying to think about it. Kind of like if you watch a Jeff Hardy match and you know the sequence he's about to go into, and you know the way the matches are meant to kind of, in his prime, not nowadays, the way you're meant to, the way they kind of would go, the rhythm of it. I get a bit like that with Tanahashi matches sometimes, purely because I've just watched so many of them. It's difficult for him to surprise me anymore. I still pop, they still get me. I still really enjoy the rhythm of them. I can just read them to a certain point. And I think that's more of a me problem. But it was a good match. It was entertaining. It's not because obviously Ibushi was never going to be at his best. Like, I wasn't expecting G1 Climax final between these two, like level of stuff. And I think it was a good idea to have it be shorter as well, especially as with the past two matches, I was a bit fatigued going into this one. I didn't feel massively up for it. Both guys' themes back to back, it does go, okay, yeah, business time. But I wasn't like, I wouldn't say I was like super hyped to stay focused and paying attention to it, even though it's Tanahashi Ibushi. I think I was just a bit tired coming into it. I was like watching Kenny Omega Christian. It's like I'm just tired at this point. It's still good. I'm just a bit sleepy.
Yeah, when you're on your 20th slice of pizza, it's like,
yeah,
this is still good, but I am so full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good main event. I mean, it's Ibushi and Tanahashi. Obviously, there's a lot of factors here working against them. The dead atmosphere, the not great matches ahead of them. Ibushi coming off of a 2 month being off and, probably almost dying. I mean, beginning of this match, he was just crying tears of joy being in the ring. Both him and Tanahashi were crying. So it must have been, super serious with that sickness that he had. But yeah, a lot of things working against them, but I still thought they told a great story. Also coming in cold. I mean, there was really no build up for this match. It was just Tanahashi saying, yes, I want to fight Ibushi. And Ibushi saying, yes, I want to fight you too. Here you go. But besides, all the negatives, I thought this was still a great main event. Probably the weakest match between these two, but like I said, still a great match. And in this match, like you mentioned with Tanahashi, like you just saw how freaking good this guy is with his selling and just the way he puts a match together, and like the way he was blocking the Kamigoye at the end with like crossing his hands and like firing up, like I just love that. I got really into that closing stretch when he was blocking all those Kamigoyes.
Yes, I again, it's Tanahashi. I still really enjoy his closing sequences. He always finds a way to jump up into that sling blade. He always finds a way, and yeah, they're still really strong, and I was still into the match. I think the thing that got me the most was really just like the afterwards, where like Tanahashi's crying. You can see just how much like whatever level of seriousness it was enough where Tanahashi is like tears of joy. It looked like I was trying to read. I realised I'm not very good at reading the emotions of foreign people. It's like, yeah, no, I can read the facial expressions of my own people. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. But yeah, it's only dawned on me. The end of the match stuck with me more than the match itself did. But maybe the fact the match itself happened is maybe more important than the thing. Like CM Punk wrestling Darby Allin. The quality of the match didn't really matter. The fact that it took place was the bigger thing than the actual quality of it.
Yeah, and I thought Ibushi still looked good in this match. Obviously, he wasn't 100%, but he still hit a golden triangle moonsault, which he really doesn't do that much often. He did some springboard stuff. The Kamigoye looked great. The V triggers looked great, and a lot of like the counter stuff that he was doing, like he was keeping up with Tanahashi. Again, it wasn't super high pace. It wasn't their G1 final match they had, but it was still two of the best guys on the roster having a very good professional wrestling match and told a great story, coming in cold, and so many factors working against them. But like you mentioned, the post match, very emotional as well. Both men tearing up, and Ibushi bowing to Tanahashi, and I think they've just kind of created a little like redemption and rebuild story here for Ibushi, coming off the sickness. This was the guy that was the world champion at the beginning of the year, and so many things have gone wrong for him this year. And so I think this is kind of the start of rebuilding Ibushi, and he's probably going to struggle through the G1 and just kind of find his way back to the top of the card.
Yeah. Actually, I was about to add on, but we'll get to the G1 later.
Yeah. And so before we move on to night 2, question here from Raising Falcons. It says, I find it refreshing that Tanahashi versus Ibushi was only 17 minutes long. I'm pretty tired of the 30-plus big match main events. After a while, it gets tiring and too predictable that both guys will go for more than half an hour. Ibushi and Tanahashi put on a solid match, and nobody looks weak. So not really a question, but more of a statement.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that hit me with it was Naito and Sanada versus Dangerous Tekkers from previously. They had like the 30-minute epic match, and it felt like the first 15 minutes of it you could skip. Like it was just, you didn't miss anything. They didn't really do anything, and that's when it hit me. It's like, when these matches feel like they have to be 30 minutes, sometimes you can feel like you're having your time wasted a little bit before they get to the action. And so I feel like this match really benefited from not having any chance of that, like no headlock starting or anything. It's like, then we're gonna pretty quickly get into it.
Yeah. But unfortunately, this is the one match on this card that I would have rather have gone 30 minutes than Chase and Yano or, whatever else went long on this card. So, but also I understand why this match went short. But yeah, I don't think every main event needs to be 30 minutes. I think you can tell a great story in 15 minutes and still be a great match and get high star ratings. It's just that, New Japan over the last 5-6 years, we have this kind of epic main event style. If we had our Kenny Omegas and Okadas and Jibatas and Nakamura's and Tanahashi and Okada, we get these epic matches and they're awesome. The problem is not everybody can wrestle that style. Not everybody is Kenny Omega. Not everybody is Kazuchika Okada. It doesn't work for everybody.
It's perfectly fine to have 4 or 5 minutes of those big sweaty men bumping that meat. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
All right, let's move on to night 2 here. So once again, we opened up with a pre-show tag match from Stardom. Donna Del Mondo's Julia and Shuri, they defeated the team from Queen's Quest, Momo Watanabe and Saya Kamatani.
I loved this match because I can't remember mentioning this on it, but when we talked about Stardom earlier. I love this match, but it was so weird watching a match I was genuinely really enjoying to golf claps.
Yeah.
It was so strange. Like I think it was the moment when they hit the Poison Rana, and I was just like, that whole sequence building to it was great. But it's like, yes, that was lovely. It's so strange. It's really weird. That's why I found it so strange to review.
Yeah, and Julia and Shuri came out like super hyped up, super high energy, like trying to get the crowd into it. And you hear like just golf claps, crickets. It's like, man.
They did the whole dance routine, and Julia's got the mask and with the lights, with the fancy mask and everything, and it just takes it off and ta-da! It's like, yes, very good, yes. It's so funny. The match was great though.
Yeah, love this. It was a great way to kick off the show. A lot of the women I really enjoy watching in this match. Julia, since she's been coming to Stardom, I think she's been awesome. I know a lot of people kind of are very critical of her matches, but I think she kills it every time and thought she looked good here. Shuri is another one that's quickly become one of my favorites, just with the hard-hitting style that she has, the kicks and strikes she throws. So her submission game here, she had the stretch muffler here to get the win. She's like the never of stardom right now, how she just like destroys people. And then I've always loved Momo's always been one of my favorites as well. So yeah, all 4 girls looked really good here.
Yeah, and I think it was each one got their time to shine as well. And one of my worries sometimes in tag matches, if you do the rotation where you have one person on the outside that just work down the other one type of thing, you enter a bit of a lull. And this match never entered that lull. Or you do that thing where you're building for the hot tag, brother. You're going, I'm going to get the heat. There was no stomping mud holes, anything like that. This was I was about to say high energy, but that's not quite right, because when Stardom does high energy, you bloody know it. But it was still really, really, really strong opener.
Yeah.
Kind of your, I guess, like, it kind of reminded me of when the Usos were like proving themselves, just saying, no, you put us on the pre-show, we're going to have the best damn match you've ever seen, and we're going to steal the show on this pre-show. And they went out there with that level of energy. It's just obviously they were met with a crowd that can't say anything. So it was really strange. Yeah, they had the hot Usos match, but weren't really, they couldn't hype the crowd, which is a shame. Still loved it though.
And I love a little bit of storytelling they did from the first matchup where Kamatani, she couldn't hit the Phoenix Splash on Shuri. The Phoenix Splash is how she won night 1. She was trying in the match to hit that on Shuri, couldn't get that hit, and that was ultimately the demise of the Queen's Quest team here.
A beautiful Phoenix Splash as well.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's something I noticed with Stardom. They do moves you've seen before, but they performed so incredibly well. It's like, oh, this is what it's meant to look like. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So then the first match on the main card, we had the United Empire team of Great Okan and Jeff Cobb defeating the Chaos team of Kazuchika Okada and Tomohiro Ishii.
Kevin Kelly put over Okan and Cobb like they were like future tag team dominators. Like, these are your future champions, guys. JBL putting over Chuck Palumbo. He's going to be a world champion, damn it. This is big. It felt like more fuel to the Cobb fire, and I guess Okan as well. There's a lot of. It felt really weird where Kevin Kelly felt like, okay, I know my task here. I'm going to be built. We're building to the G1. We're going to make Okan and Cobb feel really strong going into the G1. But I can't say that the G1's got the blocks yet because they weren't announced late in the show. So he was building to a thing that wasn't announced yet. And they did a really good job. Obviously, in hindsight, look back at it and you go, oh, yeah, that's why this match was like it was. That's why the commentary was putting over the certain things that they were. But it's quite funny now looking at it. It's like, you were trying to build to a thing that he couldn't say that he was building to. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and I also think he's kind of secretly just kind of planting in our head just the dominance of them as a team, because I'm sure they'll be in the World Tag League, and they are the one team. I mean, you look at their records, our boy Chris Samsa pulling the stats. I mean, these guys have only had a few losses as a tag team this year, and they have not gotten a tag team title shot. So I can definitely see Cobb and Okan in the tag title picture around Wrestle Kingdom season.
Well, that's the point, yeah. Because what do they do at best? That actually might be a really good shout for Wrestle Kingdom to give them their big beefy boy or their NXT main event. Give them the title. I'd be down for that. It feels like a good next step in the United Empire's evolution. Have those two team together and win some gold.
Yeah. So next matchup, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles on the line. The Suzuki team of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeated Bullet Club's cutest tag team, El Phantasmo, Taiji Ishimori, new champs, 20 minutes and 28 seconds.
Yeah, I was wondering how this was going to go, given that they were both heels, but it means shenanigans galore. And I mean, New Japan does these matches really well. I can't remember, it was Suzuki versus someone, And obviously the heel goes to brawl to the outside, and it's like, "Yeah, but you're against Suzuki. That's that's what he does.
Right.
You can't take Suzuki to the outside; he'll beat the crap out of you." And this was like that similar idea of both teams are pretty cheeky. So it's just two different teams, both cheating, both coming up with different ways. And New Japan does this matches really well. They know how to do heel versus heel, and this is another great example. This is so full of character, and I think that's we were talking about earlier with like the groups having identity. That really helps for a match like this. And I am all in on the El Fantasmo gimmick, as in the whole thing with the shoe. I am second on it.
Yeah.
I love the way that commentary talks about it, the way they put it over, the way the wrestlers are like on the brink of complaining to officials. Like, I'm going to send a worded letter.
Yeah, the sudden death super kick loaded boot gimmick has definitely been a great wrinkle to ELP matches. I've always dug ELP. I think he is awesome heel, awesome wrestler. And yeah, this whole story of, wrestlers trying to reveal what's in the boot and it never gets your feel and always backfired. Well, it backfired here for Bullet Club, where ELP, the boot gets pulled off, and the Taiji and I think it's Despy, they end up in a tug of war over the boot, and then the boot ends up getting used on ELP. He gets knocked out, which leads to the Bullet Club team losing and Suzuki-gun regaining the junior tag team champions.
And Desperado selling for the people in the people for some reason bought tickets in those stands. He's selling for them, just screaming as he clutches his wrist that he's been broken. I really loved it. But my one note from this match, for the thing that it kind of made me laugh the most, or got the most out of me, was I've got Chris Charlton. I told Jeremy that I'm going to mention this. So just part of the commentary, and Chris Charlton, for some reason, I could see what he was going for, but it felt like a bit that he didn't know how to escape from. Like he's doing a bit of stand-up comedy, but he just doesn't know how to get out of it. Like, how do I leave this bit? Gonna wait for the laugh to die down because I could have left there. I didn't though, did I? I'm still in the bit now. I was like, I could have gone there. The laugh was fine. It died afterwards, but I've still not left it. I'm still in the bit. It felt like that. It was just constantly running on, and he was just for some reason just talking about you can train all sorts of things, but you can't train a face. You can train your biceps. You can train your calves. You can train your forearms. And he just started listing loads of different muscles that you can train. But you can't train a face. And then Kevin Kelly's like, and El Desperado with the jump. Just ignored it. It just made me laugh. He's got the politeness to him, Kevin Kelly. He's like, yeah, sure. And Desperado jumps. It just really made me laugh. It just kept listing muscles. It's just like my favourite piece of commentary from the week. It's just the quote, put it this laminate it. It's like, you can't train a face. Yeah.
So we move on to the IWGP Tag Team title match in a three-way match here as Dangerous Tekkers, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. They defended the title successfully against the Chaos team of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi and the LIJ team of Sonata and Naito. 26 minutes, 43 seconds. This match also hurt with some of the COVID issues with the LIJ team having to be in quarantine because they were in contact with Bushi and Shingo, who tested positive for COVID a few weeks ago. And so they weren't really a part of the build this match. It was mainly all Tekkers and Goto and Yoshihashi.
Yeah, and I guess you could kind of sense it with the commentary as well, because a big part of it was Goto and Yoshi putting over how strong they've been as part of the six-man. There's just something about this team. They're really special. And then I watched them wrestle, and the thing that popped me the most was they were just, I can't remember which person they were clubbing, but Goto and Yoshihashi's tag team was to just club someone over the back and then go, hey! I really like that. That really got a reaction out of me. I wouldn't say anything else like really stole my attention. It's like there's little things that I guess appreciated, and I guess the way I review this match is it was more of what we got previously with Lij versus Dangerous Tekkers, but now with Goto and Yoshihashi now and then jumping in. It didn't leave that much of an impression on me. It was fine, I guess. I think it's the length of it as well. I think is a big part of it. I know that it kind of they feel like they're carving an epic sometimes with these long tag matches. Mm-hmm. Just when is it going to end? They keep staying in, but I feel like the first half of them, I struggled to. I feel like I could skip the first 10, 15 minutes of these matches and it wouldn't make a difference. I would have missed that amazing spot. My favourite spot of the match, I would have missed it. But the overall story of what's happening, they could get all of that across in like 2-3 minutes, and it goes on for quite a long time before hitting the awesome final stretch of just kicking out, staying in. Like, what is it going to take? Getting cut off at every side. Obviously, it's more chaotic in this one. With the extra team there, it's even more insane. Of what is it going to take to close this match? Yeah, it was fine. I don't know.
I don't know. I like this match a lot. You know, I don't mind the longer time, especially in a match like this where there's multiple guys, because I felt like there was a great pace in here where you always had something happening, and kind of that's the advantage of having a multi-man match. You can have guys kind of go in and out, in and out, in and out. And I thought they did a good job of that. I mean, we don't really see a ton of 30-weight tag matches in New Japan, at least in the heavyweight division. We've seen a lot of multi-man junior stuff like the Bucks and Roppongi 3K and Red Dragon and all those guys, but really don't get that much stuff in the heavyweight division. And I thought they did a good job here of pacing it out, having everybody kind of doing something. There wasn't really a lot of lagging. I think there was a lot of great tagging in and out. Also, I think a lot of the focus on the story of Yoshihashi and Goto against Tekkers, and so there was a lot of stuff there. And then Naito Tanada kind of being that annoying fly that would kind of come in and kind of get in the middle of those guys. And so thought Naito looked great. Hit his top rope Rana. There was a lot of great double team with Yoshihashi and Goto. And like you mentioned, great closing stretch towards the end there where Taichi eventually gets to hit the Black Mephisto on Yoshihashi, and they retain the titles here.
Yeah, I would also say at this point it definitely hit me that because I watched this after Jeremy messaged me earlier today. Is there a chance, Imp? I had watched Raw. I've watched Raw, reviewed Raw with the writing to get it ready for later, and then done all the Photoshop and everything to do with that. So he was hitting me at this point, like, oh yeah, I've watched a lot of wrestling today. It really hit me. I definitely start to feel a bit of a wrestling fatigue at this point. So I don't know if these final 3 matches are ones that I maybe not the main event could go back and watch it. This match and the next match. If I went back and watched them on a different day, I might enjoy them a fair bit. But yeah, still the ending sequence is still incredible in these tag matches. Dangerous Tekkers they feel like they've been a revelation to this tag division that was before, because I remember being on this show before and the conversation was just like, these tag titles in New Japan, they mean nothing. What teams are there? And now they feel completely revitalized under Dangerous Tekkers.
Yeah, I think Dangerous Tekkers, they're a great team and kind of a great kind of flagship team to have for the division. At the end of the day, I still think they can unify the heavyweight tags and the junior tags, have one overall junior tag division, especially right now with the pandemic and not even able to get a lot of teams in there. I think it would make a lot more sense. But yeah, I think Dangerous Tekkers have done good work, and it's been good to get new challengers in there like Naito and Sonata and Goto and Yoshihashi and mix some things up from the very long GOD feud they had at the beginning of the year. So then we move on to the semi-main event of the evening. We had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title on the line as the champion Robbie Eagles defends against the ticking time bomb Hiromu Takahashi, 24 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of the junior heavyweight style and its Hiromu. It's no surprise I enjoyed this. Eagles has had a fantastic year. Him becoming champion was just like a perfect like feather on that cap, and now he's getting to really show it. And the fact he's continuing to win it still feels surprising that he's winning. So they're slowly getting him over because he's facing like the big heavyweights. This division it's Despy next, and him continuing to win because Gato likes those longer reigns. He's not someone who wants to do too many short reigns. Dick, we'll keep on in mind what you proposed to him. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this match, and I think it could be something about the junior heavyweight world where I'm just surprised when it's a submission win. I'm expecting something with like a big impact, like I guess Hiromu's finishes both of them have that big impact. There's something about them. They normally come right after a crazy sequence, but Robbie Eagles kind of brings a different kind of closing pace to the matches, purely because it's a submission. He's not doing a big flashy maneuver. He's not doing a big, big flashy in the sense of impactful big slam or something. He's wearing them down and he's getting them to tap, and I appreciate that. I like having different with the champions. I like that there is that different feel. I highly rate Robbie Eagles, and obviously being friends with Sam Brown, so Sam. I can't say a bad word about him in any fashion. I'm going to keep Sam as a friend. I can't say anything else than that.
Yeah, and the thing I love about Eagles, limb work, a lot of times when people work a body part, it can really drag a match down. It can make the match boring. But the thing is, he mixes in, high-flying offense with the body part. He does the springboard drop kick to the knee. He does the 450 splash to the knee. There's a lot of great high-flying, high-paced offense that he does to work the leg over until he finally gets that Ron Miller special locked in. Man, overall, yeah, this was a great matchup here. For a while, I feel like we've been really missing the high-paced, kind of high-flying junior match. I feel like a lot of matches have been, with Despy as champion, it was kind of more of a brawl-based junior matches we were getting, and here we had Eagles and Hiromu. Great stuff. We got the sunset bomb to the floor from Hiromu to Eagles. A lot of great counters from their finishing moves. Hiromu desperately looking for the time bomb 2, which he used to defeat Doki on the Go Home Summer Struggle show that led to these two shows here, and just a lot of great counters from the big moves, but it just seems that Eagles was just one step ahead of Hiromu here in this matchup and was able to hit the 450 on the leg, lock Hiromu into the Ron Miller special. Hiromu desperately tried to get to the ropes. He was holding Red Shoe's hand, screaming, crying, but he was forced to submit. And so that's a huge win for Robbie Eagles, and just kind of shows you what management thinks about him. And like you mentioned, Gato likes establishing a champion, establishing a title run, giving some stability to a title. And so, yeah, I thought this was a really big win here for Robbie Eagles. One of the best matches from the weekend. Both guys work really hard, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the next defense. Yeah, post-match, Desperado comes out asking for a rematch, and we've seen the same trope that we've seen all year with the junior titles, where the tag champions, one of them challenges the main champion, and then the singles champion gets a tag title shot in return. So that's what we got here. Despy saying he'll give Eagles a shot at the tag titles if he can get a shot at the junior title. In which I think we had a question about that too from Mark Nato 90. So Desperado putting his junior tag titles on the line. It wasn't clear if he was giving Eagles a title shot with a partner or putting it up title versus title. Commentators seem to think it was a title versus title match. Have you seen any more on this? From my understanding, it was what we've been seeing all year, where the one person, the champion, will get a junior tag title match first, and then whoever challenging will get a junior title match later.
Yeah, I understood it as two separate matches as well. Yeah, I guess. And I like the way where Despy was like, well, who's going to be your partner? And Robbie was like, Tiger.
Yeah, he's like, Tiger match.
This. Yeah.
Like, we just did a junior tag league. Who else would it
be? Yeah. Yeah, like, you wrestled us, right? You remember this, right?
Like, my old tag partner's a heel and the leader of the United Empire. Like, so let's move on to the main event here for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. The Dragon Shingo Takagi defeats Evil with Dick Togo, 30 minutes and 20 seconds.
30 minutes. So did you watched this not massively later, but you didn't like wake up at 4 a.m. to watch it?
No, I woke up, I think, like around 7 or 8 my time in the morning. So it was like a few hours after the show had ended.
Okay. I was just going to say that if you'd gotten up for this show.
I was not.
No.
I made the mistake of getting up early for the first night, and I was not doing that again, especially with Evil Shingo main event, especially after the whole House of Torture thing. I sent our group chat because I thought Evil was going to win. Because like initially I was like, it makes more sense for Shingo to win. There's a lot more storyline options you could do with Shingo, and plus it's just the better thing to do. But as soon as like the whole House of Torture stuff came out on night 1, I'm like, oh no, Evil's gonna win. Like, why would they debut this new stable and this new look and all this stuff if he wasn't gonna win the title? But luckily that was not the case.
Yeah, it ended up being a good MacGuffin. Thank you, Gator. Thank you. But yeah, I liked the bits where, I guess if we're talking about with the hero move, where you see kind of glimpses of how this could work. Like when like Evil's just been beating down on the babyface, and the babyface then starts running hot fire, and he gets so many hope spots, and you get really behind it when that's happening. But obviously, it drags outside of that, and I think it's my main issue with Evil matches. They're fine if they're half this length. Obviously, they're still going to irk some, but for me, I guess if it's half this length, it's fine, because the pace of that would more be Evil gets in his evil stuff, but then there's not enough time to dwell on it, so then you get the hot fire a lot quicker. But at 30 minutes, the evil stuff's going to last about half of that, if not more, and that's like having 15, 20 minutes of your life wasted. It's quite something. Oh, but he got that heat, brother. Oh, he got that heat. Oh, yeah. He stomped down on Shingo.
And it's not like, the action is hot and heavy for all this match, and then you do the screw job finish at the end. It's like, no, this match dragged on, and you had just so much interference. Dick Togo, Sho, and Yujiro constantly getting involved with the garrote wire, pulling the ref, pulling Shingo. It's like, at what point do you just not throw the match out or throw? It took forever for Red Shoes to finally be like, you guys need to go. I'm disqualifying Evil. Like, that should have been done like in the first 5 minutes of the match. Like, there was a match that we watched for one of the recommended matches. It was Finn Balor versus Alex Shelley when Balor just became the leader of the Bullet Club, and you had Tama Tonga and Carl Anderson and Fale on the outside. And it's the beginning of the match. They're constantly getting involved, but then they get thrown out right at the beginning, and then Balor and Shelley have a great match because they're great wrestlers, and you still have a good match. Like, if you're going to do all this running in and interfering, like, get it out of the way in the beginning, get them thrown out, and then actually have a match. But it just goes on and on and on. And it makes Red Shoes look dumb. It makes the whole promotion look dumb. And it's like, at what point, like, do the rules not matter? Like, you have Evil always going out, grabbing the chair, doing that stupid baseball spot. This was just horrible. And I know people were hating on the Chase and Yano match, but to me, this match was way worse because this is your main event. This is for the IWGP World title. And you got it mucked up like it's a 24/7 with a bunch of guys just running around and no order, no action. Like, this was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, I think for me the most offensive thing is the fact that it dragged, especially for a main event. That I can, and maybe it's just what we're talking about, like the opposite from night 1, where it's the main event, so you have it go on long. But they didn't fill it with anything. that it went 30 minutes, yeah, but it didn't feel like a main event. It didn't really. It's one of those where once it started hitting the hot fire run of Shingo towards the end, it's more of a thank God rather than a come on baby, you can do this type of thing. It wasn't that. It was more okay. The end's coming. That's good, which isn't a great sign. Again, my other thought was I might just wrestled out by this point. I've watched 7 hours of wrestling today. It's ridiculous. But I was done with the match before it reached Shingo's hot fire, which is a bit. So I was more grateful for it than excited by the.
But even Shingo's like hot fire got interrupted because those guys got thrown out, and then Dick Togo comes back after Shingo hits Man in Japan and pulls the referee out, and he's trying to choke Shingo out, and then Yujiro comes back with the pimp cane, and then finally LIJ comes out. Bushi is a real one. He's a real friend. Bushi's always the first one out. You can count on Bushi to have your back on a rough night. But yeah, finally the rest of these guys come out and get rid of Bull Club. Like all this should have happened way earlier and let these guys wrestle. But no, they had to go through all the shenanigans and the heat and the quote unquote storytelling and moments and all this stuff and, all the smoke and mirrors. And, you usually use smoke and mirrors to help elevate somebody, but this didn't help anybody. This did not help this match, didn't help Evil, didn't help Shingo. It just was a black eye on this match. And, the few good parts that were in it just all it's overshadowed and cluttered by all this interference and shenanigans and run-ins, and yeah, this was just straight trash.
Which is a shame, really. It just because I want to get into Shingo's I said Shingu like he's Pingu, onto Shingo's title reign, but there's something about it that feels like it's. I guess it's like it's pandemic affected. Like this is not the plan we'd like to be doing right now. And Shingo's kind of like, well, he's reliable. We're going to put the belt on Shingo. He'll have great matches at the end of the card most of the time, depending on the opponent. He's reliable. We can put him there, and of course he's respected. The fans will cheer for him, and yeah. But obviously stuff like this isn't going to help the perception of that. Well, the entire point is the quality of work that he's putting on will carry perfectly fine. Don't put it with Evil. Don't book the match. You know the style that Evil's going to wrestle.
Yeah.
I feel like the way this title reign needs to go forward, it's just not the right opponent. Especially if it's 30 minutes. Good God.
Yeah.
Good God.
Evil is the reverse Bret Hart. Bret was the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Evil is the worst there is, the worst there was, and the worst there ever will be, and should never be in the main event ever again.
I'm not following that.
We got some questions here. So our buddy Rich Latta over at One Nation Radio, he says, what's worse for New Japan, Dick Togo or making their world champions fight mixed martial artists in shoots?
Looking back at it, the learning about the sheer damage Nagata just being this respected top potential ace guy and just getting his ass absolutely handed to him and all of it going away. It's like, I'll stick with the martial arts shoots like that one. It damaged people who were over, which is worse than people who aren't over. Staying not over.
That's true. I don't know.
What's worse, boring or actively damaging? I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going with Dick Togo. At least with the mixed martial arts fight, you can explain that, hey, man, our guy just got his ass beat by a real fighter. Like, all right, this guy's a trained shooter. Our guy wasn't. That's what happened. Here, you have Dick Togo handing out, as Jericho said, bad ideas from bad creative. And that's what we're getting from Dick Togo. And I feel like these issues could be easily avoided. I can understand the appeal of wanting to put your guy in there with an MMA star. I cannot understand the appeal of trying to create a sub-unit of a bunch of horrible low-class wrestlers and putting them in the main event.
Gotta get Evil that second really short title run. that'll elevate things.
Let's put Evil in there of a shooter, and let's do that for the next Big Evil match.
When when Shooter Umino comes back for his hot pick, yeah. I thought, he's perfect to be Evil. No.
Next question from Rambo and Slam Pigs is with the news that Dick Togo was pushing for another Evil title reign recently coming out. Is it okay to start calling him the Japanese Vince Russo?
Well, I mean, it's when he starts with the gimmicks. Once the gimmicks start, when they start happening, then he's Russo. That's Russo's staple. Just the sheer amount of ridiculous. Like I was reading something. It was years ago. I was reading it, but it was on TNA, and about they were just talking about the moment you could tell the influence grew because suddenly, out of nowhere, it's gimmicks galore. Everything's a gimmick match. Every kind of thing's got a gimmick tied to it. Once that starts to happen, once Evil is champion, and he's in this, and the lower card is just full of gimmicks, then he's Russo'd it.
Yeah,
he's thinking too hard. He's going too outside the box.
Now I'm picturing Dick Togo with a Russo accent in the back. Hey, Gato, bro. I have
bro.
Great idea, bro. We put Evil in the main event, bro, and I come out with the garrote wire, bro, and I choke Shingo out, bro, and then Evil wins the title. How about that, bro?
What voice would Gato have? I've gone for Teddy Long in my head. That don't work for me, player.
Yeah. Player.
I very wisely didn't put on an accent. Stay British in for that one. Yeah. No, player. No. Not happening. Or he should. Have you seen the? I forgot his name. Omar. Omar from The Wire passed away.
Yeah.
Michael something. There's a video of him talking to himself as his different roles, because the whole topic of it is being typecast as a black actor. So he's just constantly talking to himself as different versions of him, telling him, no, it was this, no, it was that, and just picturing loads of different versions of Gato just surrounding Togo. Like, no, what are you talking about?
We had a question from EMJ Does PR. He says, what the fuck is going on in this company?
I feel like we've explained it.
Yeah.
You can tell there's it's backstage. It's not 100% synergized, and maybe it is Togo going, "Good, great idea, bro."
Yeah, man, it's Togoism.
You come up with the term already.
And like we mentioned earlier, it just feels disjointed. Like you see this great Hiromu Eagles match, you see this great Tanahashi Ibushi match, you see all these good matches throughout the card, and then you get to where his fingerprints are, and you see the interference, you see the cheating, the gimmicks, the garrotes, the low blows, everything. It's like you could tell his influence, and it's totally throwing off the whole show. And I don't understand I understand Gato's in a tough corner, and there's a lot more shows to book, and he probably does need some fresh ideas. But I don't think he needs that. He's that desperate case that he needs to bring in Dick Togo and give him all his power and ruin everything, ruin his legacy, ruin everything he's built up as a historical booker. Because the people are not going to point the finger at Dick Togo. A lot of people are going to point the finger to Gato, and they're going to say, "This is, you should be the one." Just like Tony Khan says, I'm the one that gets a final stamp of approval. Yes, I'll take the idea, but if I don't like it, I'm not going to pass it by. And Gato, I feel like, because Dick Togo is his friend, and maybe because they're in this pandemic period, he's let a lot of stuff slide that he probably wouldn't have let slide in the past.
What I would, I think the best thing maybe to come out of this is if Josh doesn't listen to this show, and whenever he returns, whenever he's set to do so, he then mentions Dick Togo. And your immediate Pavlovian response, like, "Hey, bro!" He's got no context for it whatsoever. Something good came out of this match. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, man. And last question here from Dom Homie 101. From a storyline standpoint, why doesn't the IWGP committee take action against Evil over his interference during his matches? And why doesn't any other wrestlers fight fire with fire when it comes with Evil and his interference?
Has someone done that? I don't know. I feel like because it's the babyface thing where the babyface doesn't have someone come down with them. They're brave and they're strong and they'll do it. God damn it! They'll fight the good fight. But I guess it's wrestling 101. I guess it's sort of like wrestling tropes. I guess that just exists. So the babyface, they're not the one that comes down. It's so that you know which one's the villain kind of thing. But it makes sense. But the other part of why don't they take action is like that's the kind of shit. That's the little details I like to see. Postings of official fines and things. It's just like really low level office stuff. Like no, put that out there. Don't go WWE where you got Stephanie McMahon finding like $500,000. Like the WWE have never managed to find the correct ground. It's either way too little. Like, I'm going to fine you $10 or something astronomically too high. There's never a good middle ground that they find. I'd like to see fines, like invoices of payments due of stuff sent to Evil or the House of Torture.
Yeah.
Which is a kayfabe house.
It's a crap house. But I think what they should do is, there should be a thing where, like, only somebody with a manager's license should be out there, like they did back in the day. So, like, as soon as, like, Show and Yujiro come out from the beginning, Retro should be like, no, only Dick Togo can stay because he's a quote-unquote manager. He has appropriate license to be out here. Y'all need to go to the back. There should be more kind of awareness of what Evil is doing, and officials, we get the articles afterward. Yes, we're appalled by the actions that happen in our main event. Well, if you're really that appalled about what's happening, do something about it.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what show I was watching, but it was an older one, and it was when the manager was being all heelish and a bit of a dick, and Jesse Ventura brought up the manager's license, and I was just like, I love that. Yeah, that's so good. That's I don't know why isn't that used today. That's just such a good thing. I'm a fan of the manager's license because you can, as we were just saying, there's uses for it to kind of. You've got the bad guys out there. The ref has then a reason to kick them out after they've interfered. It's. I mean, again, coming off of AEW, we're in a world with them where the bad guys can interfere. They can mess about and do a lot of stuff. But if they do like one big act, they're immediately gone. They can still do the big interference, but they can only do one. I think that really helps, is if it continues to happen, if it's over and over, if it's just too much, then you get Evil matches.
It just jumps the shark.
Yeah. I feel like it's a balancing act AEW done really well, where they'll still have the bad guy, like with the Elite, they'll still have a constant run of stuff, but they know if they go past a certain point, they're just going to be hitting disqualification. So I'm a fan of that.
Well, that wraps up our reviews of Wrestle Grand Slam. We did get two big announcements from the shows that we can talk about now. The first announcement that came night one, New Japan announced for Wrestle Kingdom 16 that we're getting 3 nights this year of Wrestle Kingdom. So we're going to get January 4th, January 5th, and January 8th. Of course, the first 2 nights will be in the Tokyo Dome, while the third night will be in Yokohama Arena. And we had several questions relating to that news. First, from the Reddit user, _dark_soldier. With Wrestle Kingdom being a 3-nighter this time around, should New Japan take one of those nights, maybe January 5th, and make it NJPW versus AEW Super Show? With matches like Jericho versus Suzuki, Moxley versus CSJ, and with a main event of either Kenny Omega versus Jay White for the Never title, or Hiroshi Tanahashi if he's still the U.S. champion against Bryan Danielson.
It's a dream scenario which is only scuppered by the pandemic. That's the only reason. As in, you can do this later down, like maybe if they decide to do this again. Because immediately I'm like, New Japan don't have the momentum or fire to do 3 nights. Like it's a bit excessive.
Yeah,
But I don't know what are they going to fill it with. I generally don't know. They're not running with the hot fire or momentum to really to make you go, yeah, 3 nights. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I can definitely see why they're doing 3 nights. I can't really say that. If they're not getting outside people in to kind of bulk up the card, I don't know what it's gonna be with. Daniel Bryan, I need to stop calling him that now. Bryan Danielson, with his farty, bouncy but to it classical music. I love that. Whoever did that tweet, well done. But yeah, with him signing with AEW, that's kind of like he's also kind of in the background debut for New Japan. Like it's happening. Him signing with AEW is partly so he can work New Japan. So that means he's working New Japan. The question is just when. And obviously the pandemic has a massive effect on that. And I think with these 3 shows, in terms of what they're going to do, I feel like Tanahashi versus Moxley is being built, but they're doing it very smartly. It's just when are they going to have the match? As in, for me, it feels like this match is confirmed. I just don't know when for. Wrestle Kingdom could be a good shout, but again, it all depends on the pandemic. I don't know what otherwise. Jericho's got it in his contract. He specifically said with MJF, I'll never work in AEW again. We've got people talking about New Japan. There's a lot of potential. Yeah. I just don't quite know what it's going to be filled with.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the pandemic is the big issue if them potentially doing a New Japan versus AEW supercard. I mean, there's a lot of issues happening here. One, if guys can get to Japan, they have to do the 2-week quarantine. And for a lot of these guys, they have family, they have wife, they have kids. Does it make a lot of sense for them to quarantine for 2 weeks just to do one show? For a lot of guys, maybe, but for most guys, they say no. Daniel Bryan, or I'm doing it too. Bryan Danielson said himself, I want to work New Japan, but I don't want to quarantine for 2 weeks to work a couple of shows and then come back. And then you also have the issue with the work visas. We've talked to wrestlers on New Japan Strong who want to go to Japan, but the Japanese government is not issuing out new work visas right now. Right now, any of the guys that you're seeing come into Japan, they've had a work visa that was active before the pandemic happened. So that's why those guys are still allowed to come in. But any new guys on Strong that want to come into Japan and don't have a work visa, there's a huge delay right now on work visas, and they're not getting issued out right now. So it's impossible. I'm not sure how many AEW guys have work visas in Japan. I'm assuming maybe somebody like Kenny Omega might still have one just because maybe he lived there, but most of their roster I don't think is work Japan or would have a active work visa. So it makes it very difficult right now to do a super show or to bring anybody over from Strong.
One day, definitely, especially if they're set on having Wrestle Kingdom week, whatever it is in a year or so, then it makes 100% sense to have one of them be like a big mega show like that, like a big super show. Well, the super shows weren't alien to Japanese wrestling, like in their boom.
Right.
Like you'd get New Japan, AEW, AJPW is what I'm trying to say. You get super shows like that all the time. So it's in the DNA of the wrestling world to do super shows and work together like that.
Right, and there was a New Japan WCW Super Show. They integrated TNA when they were working with those guys during the Tokyo Dome. So we've seen kind of big super shows before. We've seen them integrate partner promotions before. So yeah, like you mentioned, if this was a non-pandemic world, we had access to people in AEW, we had access to Strong people, access to CMLL guys, access to Rev Pro guys. I could totally see how they could pull out a big 3-night card. But in a pandemic where we're stuck with the domestic roster, guys can't come in, guys got to quarantine. I'm not sure how they're going to pull off a big 3-night Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, my thing is you've got Stardom. That's the saying. You've got them.
Yeah, give them a night. Next question here from Rambo and Slam Pig says, Kadani made some comments in Tokyo Sports about needing to regain vitality and momentum to avoid Wrestle Kingdom being a triple dud. He used the word crisis. Other than COVID ending, what steps with the control of NJPW management should they immediately take to recover?
I know, bro. I got some good idea, bro. I mean, there's certain things that kind of need to be, I guess, ironed out, I guess. But COVID is the biggest one. Like whatever, in terms of that title as well, like whatever plans they've come up with, that again, it's part of the kind of law of the title right now that it's Shingo trying to fight off its curse that it apparently has, and with COVID around, that's not going to stop really. Like Shingo himself, like 2 weeks before this match was in quarantine,
right?
Which is like that kind of that says just like how on earth do you build to a Wrestle Kingdom like when your company is in a state like that, where your top champion, who is like your third choice, really, out of who you actually wants to be champion, because just due to bad luck after bad luck, now you're on Shingo, when he was never in the plans to be champion, and it's working out well. I feel like he's a good champion, but I don't know. I don't know really how you immediately kind of do to recover.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the answer is remove creative control from Dick Togo, because he's ruining the main event scene. His fingerprints are hurting New Japan, because I feel like once Evil was out of the picture, I think the first half of this year of New Japan is really underrated. You look back, you look at that New Japan Cup, you look at the matches that Ospreay and Shingo were having this year. You look at Wrestle Kingdom at the beginning of this year was very good, and some of the stuff that they did kind of maybe up until May was really good. You were having some really good main events, even in the clap crowd environment, some match of the year level matches, Tanahashi and Shingo at New Beginning in the beginning of the year for the Never title. Absolutely incredible. I love that match. So I thought New Japan was doing some great stuff at the first half of this year with Evil out of the main event picture and, chasing Yano around for KOPW. And now as soon as he shifts back in the picture, you just see, I mean, New Japan, like we mentioned, it's already not hot right now because of the pandemic. But then with creative decisions like that lowers the product.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is if they're able to get in the foreign heavy hitters, they get Ospreay back, they get Jay White back. I feel like, and some of that talent that's been built up on Strong and Chris Bay, get him in there as well. Yeah, when they're actually able to integrate with the talent again, then yeah, I feel like they could actually hit some form of stride, because they have been building up that Western talent well. Just it's not in Japan they're doing it. So I think that they should be fine once they're able to integrate. But of course, the way this pandemic's worked, like who knows? Possibly we could be due for another long period of this.
Right, and obviously the way things have been going in Japan are obviously not the way things are going in the United States. Obviously in the U.S. we're having events, we're having fans, we're seeing packed arenas. In Japan, we're still having the limit of people who can go to events. There's still a curfew. That they're still not allowed to cheer. There's so many factors working against New Japan and stuff that's happening in Japan with all the restrictions.
Yeah, and I've seen the Prime Minister's said he's going to resign over it as well once. They said once it's his term's over, something, I can't remember what it was. After a certain point, he's going to resign, maybe end of the year or something, because it's been decreed that it's been handled that badly.
Yeah.
They're not in a great spot, I think it's fair to say, and especially with a population as old as theirs as well.
Right.
That's one of the things with Japan is that it's a very old population, and that obviously has quite a big effect. This pandemic specifically has quite a big effect on that. So you can understand why they're as worried as they are. Yeah. And why they're being so strict and shutting down like that. I mean, as a nation, socially, they're way more, I guess, reactive to things like this. As in, they wear the masks whenever they get a cold anyway.
Right. Yeah, we've
that's
seen
what
that.
they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So they're way more conscious of stuff like that anyway. So it makes a lot more sense that they would like immediately as a society they just close down and everyone will be up for doing it as well. There's not really much of a fight of what do you want us to talk less? Yeah, we'll perfectly do that. Yeah, never mind the whole mask thing. They're willing to talk less.
Yeah.
Which is the next stage. It's like, yeah, I'll use minimal words around my day. It'll be really inconvenient, but I understand the severity of it. Yeah, I don't know like the ins and outs of it, as in, even though it's bad, does it there look to be any kind of up? Because of course we're talking like half a year. Is it half a year? No, it's like 5 months.
Right.
No, that's not good maths. That's 4 months. It's 4 months. So it's only about 4 months away. September now. So it's really not that long. It's nearly Christmas, Jeremy.
Yeah. We're a few months away from Christmas. Yeah, a few months away from Wrestle Kingdom. I don't see things doing a dramatic swing that Wrestle Kingdom's they can do some kind of blow away card. I do think there are some interesting matchups that they can do for main events, even for a 2-night show. But adding in a whole third show. Are we going to get a triple dome dash? Like, I don't know what the game plan is here.
Yeah, that's my main big takeaway from this is when they announced 3 nights, my immediate reaction was just, but why? Like, what is the demand for this? Because if anything, you should be scaling back given the major problems.
Right.
As in, if it was any year to just do a 1-night Wrestle Kingdom, I feel like this is it. Because they surely cannot be as optimistic as those guys buying the seats all the way back. They can't be that optimistic as a company. Like, surely. That's what it feels like to me. They're just it's an almost blind optimism that they'll be able to put on a mega show.
Yeah.
And
I understand that continuing to do the double dome, because at least you're doing 2 shows where you get the attendance of if you did 1 Wrestle Kingdom. So you're still kind of getting that big, pay. You're still getting some money as if you did 1 Wrestle Kingdom. So I understand that. Do 5 matches. You split a 1-day Wrestle Kingdom card into 2 shows, but then adding a whole nother show. Yeah, I guess we'll see how it all plays out. But to me, I'm not really optimistic about it. The last question here from Mark NATO 90. Do you expect 3 nights of Wrestle Kingdom to have more special singles matches, titles like Strong, Rev Pro Defended, or just more filler of tag matches? Does the January 8th show allow time for U.S. wrestlers to quarantine? Well, I think as far as the U.S. wrestlers, I think it all depends on who has work visas and who wants to quarantine. Because that's the big issue.
Yeah.
The guys like Jay White and Finley and Juice who have visas and can come over, they got quarantine fatigue. They were tired of having to do the 2-week quarantine every time they came into Japan. So there's definitely time to quarantine, but will the guys want to quarantine? That's the big question. As far as the Rev Pro title, that will only be defended if Ospreay's still a Rev Pro champion and he comes to Japan. I have a hard time seeing if somebody like Ricky Knight Jr. beats Ospreay for, they unify the belts, or if he's the champion. I don't see him coming in Japan. And again, with Strong, if the Strong champion doesn't have a visa, which I don't think any of the Strong guys have work visas right now, then they're not coming over. But all of those would be great options to do if you can get those guys in the country.
Yeah, as we were saying before, there's so many different things that play that, like the wants of, we could do this, we could do that. Well, yeah, in a dream world, but we are still in a pandemic. And there's so many different things that play that who knows what he'll be able to do in January. And the realization, the gag about Christmas is that the whole point that it's actually not that far away. So the state things are now, things aren't going to massively change from now till January for what they are now. They change a bit, but not massively to the point where, suddenly they'll be giving work visas out willy-nilly, letting the whole world in. They're perfectly fine.
Come on in.
Yeah, they won't be doing that. It won't be a thing. There won't be Bernie Mac in Transformers trying to get everybody like, come on in, everybody. Come on. Like, no. They... why did I choose Transformers for my Bernie Mac movie? But yeah, there's so many different things at play that who knows. And again, if it is bad enough where that foreign talent can't get in, or you've got loads of people who can't get those visas, then you got started. You can do mega shows with, I guess, Japanese companies that are there if they're up for that working relationship. I know some bridges have been tainted a bit, but this is a different world. Who knows what could happen? Yeah. Or fill it with gimmick matches. It's one of the two.
More 30-minute I Quit matches. Let's go.
I mean, I was all in on the concept of the lights out match. Not AEW type of lights out, as in where the lights would turn off in the Yano match. I was all in on that idea. And it was just the fact that they didn't run with it. I was so disappointed. Have Yano doing all the tying up stuff, and then the lights go out, and he has to get back into the ring in full darkness. It's just like, yes, come on. I'm all in on that.
Well, the second announcement that we got from night 2 was the blocks for the G1 Climax 31. So for our A block, we're going to have Kota Ibushi, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, Shingo Takagi, Tetsuya Naito, Zack Sabre Jr., The Great Okan, Kenta, Tangaloa, and Yujiro Takahashi. And then in the B block, we'll have Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, Sanada, Taichi, Jeff Cobb, Evil, Tama Tonga, and Chase Owens. And then I just pulled the first 2 nights, the cards there, and the last 2 nights. We are going to do a full preview of the G1 Climax 31 next week. Chris Samsa from SupporterProWrestling.com will be joining us to do a full breakdown and preview of the G1 Climax 31. So we'll give all of our full predictions next week. But I did want to look at the first 2 nights and the last 2 nights. And those are typically the bigger cards. So on the opening night, September 18th in Osaka, we're going to have the main event, Shingo versus Ishii. Semi-main event, Yano versus Kenta. Then Great Okan versus Tangaloa. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tetsuya Naito. Kota Ibushi versus Yujiro Takahashi. And then night 1 of the B block, also in Osaka, main event, we'll have Tanahashi and Okada. Semi-main event of Sanada versus Tama Tonga. Jeff Cobb versus Chase Owens. Yoshihashi versus Evil. And Hiroki Goto versus Taichi. And then the last 2 nights, October 18th in Yokohama, we'll have a main event of Kota Ibushi versus Kenta, Tomohiro Ishii versus Toru Yano, Shingo Takagi versus Yujiro Takahashi, Tetsuya Naito versus The Great Okan, and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tangaloa. And then the last night in Budokan Hall, last B block night, we'll have Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Taichi, Kazuchika Okada versus Jeff Cobb, Hiroki Goto versus Tama Tonga, Yoshihashi versus Chase Owens, and Sanada versus Evil. So we had a question here from Wine Punch VB, with Wrestle Kingdom being 3 nights and the G1 blocks being announced. How do you think all 3 main events play out? I thought Naito would win the G1 and main event the second of the 3rd Wrestle Kingdom events, wrestling Shingo and Ospreay. But now with Shingo and Naito in the same block, I don't think this happens anymore.
I've got no idea, really. I generally don't know. I think part of it is just in this pandemic era, they've had to change so many things on the fly that no one particularly is running with any momentum. Or we praise the New Japan long-term booking, the long-term booking. Because of the pandemic, no one particularly has that run of momentum. So you got your top guys, but I don't know which one it's going to be. Generally, I've got no idea. I guess, again, part of that is just because there is no long-term thing flowing into it.
Right.
You're not looking at, like last year where there was that Kota run, is that you're like, this is the year. This is the time he does it. There isn't any of that. That isn't there in this one. So I don't know. Do you go for a champion win just to mix it up? Is this the year you do that?
You could, based off the whole storyline of who's a real world champion. I mean, Shingo did do an interview, saying he needs to win the G1 to kind of shut Ospreay up and prove that he is, the real world champion. So that's an interesting angle you could go. I don't want to give my full prediction out right now, what I think is happening. I'll say that for next week. But just based off of the last two nights, there's one name from the A block and one name from the B block that pops out to me that makes sense for a final, and those two guys have compelling stories that you could do with Shingo and Ospreay. So there's a big hint right there. Take a look at those last two blocks, but I don't know what they're gonna do with the three. I think what you could do is one night you do the unification match with Shingo and Ospreay. Then on night 2 you can do the winner of the unification match versus a G1 winner. But then I have no idea how you get the third main event. I guess somebody just walks out at the end of night 2 and says, "Hey, I want to fight you on January 8th."
Hey, bro.
bro, I got a great idea. Evil walks out, bro, at the end of the night, bro, and gets a shot.
And the title's on a pole, bro. Bad, bro. I think there's some strong matches like night 1, Takagi Ishii. Yes, please. Give me all of that. I know I'm pointing out all the Ishii matches, but Yano Ishii, last time that happened in G1, it was fantastic. It was amazing. If I'm right, that was the one where Yano was like, "I'm going to take this G1 seriously. I'm actually going to try, guys."
It was Shooter Yano.
That was it. And then the match happened, and he genuinely did try, and the crowd were going mental. I absolutely loved it. And I do like how they're kind of getting some of the matches that we've seen in this scenario before, or matches we've seen recently, are getting put out of the way earlier on. So we've got the big gun in Okada Tanahashi that's opened how many G1s at this point? It's opening another one. Opened or closed.
Surprisingly, this is only the second time that it's a first round, match opener.
Of course, they closed. Was it last year they closed? Can't remember. But last year before.
Were they? I don't think they were in the same block last year, were they?
Yeah, they ended in a draw in that one I'm thinking of. I can't remember which one that was.
Yeah, because I think the last time they were the G1 together was the Dallas G1 that we were at 2019, where they opened up and Okada beat Tanahashi.
Right. I thought it was the one where it was the Ibushi Tanahashi final. Was that 2019?
That was 2018.
2018. So I might be thinking 2018. Getting that match out of the way first, and as well as like Sanada Evil last year, that was like right at the end, and this year it's right at the start. If you're going to put them in the same, if they're destined to be in the same block together forever and ever and ever, then I guess getting it out of the way first, it's perfectly fine. I mean, it's still like I look at it. I do when the lineups came up. There was quite a bit of. I wouldn't use the word negativity on Twitter, on social media. I'd use it as a meh reaction. It didn't seem to generate a lot of excitement. Right. But there's still some really strong matches in here. You still got your Ishii's, your Takagi's, your Bushi, Naito, Okada, Tanahashi. Like, there's still the big names there that are going to pull some incredible matches out of the bag.
Yeah, overall, I think both blocks are very well balanced. And this is the best they could do in the situation they're in. They couldn't bring in anybody from the U.S. I don't know what their relationship is with other companies. I mean, they potentially could have brought in freelancers, but again, with the pandemic, it just might be safer to use your own employees. And, all Bushiroad employees and wrestlers have been vaccinated, so they know that. So it's probably just safer to use everybody that's under contract to them. So there's just so much going on here on to why the G1 blocks aren't better. It kind of feels stale. Only 3 new guys in with Great Khan's first G1, Tangaloa's first G1, and Chase Owens' first G1. So we will get some new matchups there, but overall, you have a lot of the same guys. But again, when you look at the top of the cards, there's still some great stuff. Like in the A block, you have Ibushi and Ishii and Shingo and Naito and Sabre and Kenta all in the same block. Like that there's going to be some great matches there. And then you look at the B block, like you mentioned, we're opening up with Tanahashi and Okada. We have Goto in there. We have Yoshihashi, who's been killing it since he's won the Never Six-Man title. We have Jeff Cobb, who's been killing it. Taichi, who's been killing it. So there are some good matchups in there. Of course, the B block's going to be slogged down with Evil and Tamatonga and Chase. And so if you're not a Bullet Club fan, it's definitely not the G1 for you. We have 6 Bullet Club guys
Good God.
in this tournament. And I can give you the blueprint for every Bullet Club match right now. One guy says, you lay down. They lay down. They grab the guy in a schoolboy and, hey, I thought you were going to lay down. No. And then they start trying to out-cheat each other. And then somebody wins. And then they shake hands and they're all good at the end.
Hooray. Yeah. I will say as a dark horse type of thing, Zack Sabre Jr. and Toru Yano are something special. That pairing. When it happens, it's something special. I just remember they did Cork Hall shows like back to back. I think it was when Sanada, Ibushi, and Zack Sabre Jr. and Yano were all in the same block, and it was just like a back to back of Cork Hall shows. And just coming out of it, my impression was just like, Yano has had blinders back to back. Ibushi, Sanada, Zack Sabre Jr. They've been amazing. I was like, yeah, he's my MVP for a reason. And he's in there. He's got Ibushi again. He's got Kento at opening night. That'll be a gem. There's a lot to like.
Next question here from Rambo Slam Big. He said, what do the final block night lineups tell you about this year's G1? Is Okada versus Naito too big of a match for a G1 final when you have 3 nights of dome shows to fill in January?
Yeah, it was just dawning on me. Was it Yano and Great-O-Khan where Yano cut off Great-O-Khan's hair?
What happened? He tied his hair to the
like the guardrail.
The guardrail. Yeah. But I do think I thought he did cut off his hair at one point too, I think.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. It just dawned on me doing the same block. Yeah. I was just like, oh, what are they gonna?
But since Rambo and Slam Pig mentioned it, I guess I'll just go ahead and mention it. I do think I am leaning towards a Okada Naito match for the finals, and I don't think it's too big of a match for the finals. I mean, it's a match that's been done several times now. It's not like it's a super protected match anymore, and I think it makes a ton of sense for the finals. And I think you can do other stuff with both those guys within the 3 nights of the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah. Oh, and I do like the idea of Okada being one of the challengers on one of the nights, as well as it feels like, because it was just hitting that, have they reached that point of Tanahashi Nakamura where, yeah, they face each other loads at this point, but they're the 2 most over ones. You want to build up that momentum, why not put on an all-star G1 final in Okada and Naito? They did it in 2015 with Tanahashi and Nakamura, and it absolutely slapped and got a lot of buzz and attention. I can't see why it wouldn't here, as in just remind people that, no, we are New Japan. Yeah. We have got some incredible talent.
Yeah, and it's always a great matchup, and yeah, I think it would be it's a great way to end that tournament, especially this tournament where there's not much hype, not much excitement. Try to end it on a good note. Next question here from Martin890 says, "Love the show, guys. Have a questions for you. If you can answer some, which G1 block are you looking forward to more? A block seems to have more big names, while Okan's debut was fairly certain and Chase rumored. Are you surprised with GOD's inclusion?"
Not given the circumstances. As in, a few people are going to get in there where you're just like, really? But I guess why not them? My only thought is, would it have hurt to have put in a junior? I guess.
No, yeah, I think if it was up to me. If Gato was calling me, I'd say let's put Hiromu in this thing.
Yeah.
People were clamoring for Hiromu to be in the G1 last year. He did a lot of open weight work last year, New Japan Cup, the title match with Evil, like you mentioned. There was a lot of momentum for Hiromu to be in it last year. And I guess coming off the injury and then obviously losing the Eagles, it probably didn't make a ton of sense for him to be in it. But as far as a match quality, even from a star power perspective, I think adding a guy like Hiromu would have made a ton of sense.
And even with stuff, maybe even swap out one of the GOD for show. If you could do like Hero Moon show, and maybe would have been my 2. Just thinking. especially if they're all doing like shows joining Bullet Club for a reason. And that reason is to not be included as a heavyweight in anything. I'm like, oh, if he'd been in the G1, that might have been something a little bit more. But then you maybe accidentally go a little bit into WWE territory where you do the thing, you make the announcement, but then the announcement of having all the official graphics and everything doesn't really make sense. It makes the thing that happened before feel a bit kind of formulated.
Right.
It doesn't feel as natural anymore if you've got the big fancy graphics of, like, now he's turned heel, he's facing this thing. That's a minor gripe. Obviously, I would have preferred to see Show and him in this over the guys we've got. Some of them. They feel like filler, who have got no chance of winning, really. And I'm not that excited that they're in there.
Yeah. Now, there was also rumor of Aaron Henare potentially being in, but I know there's been lockdown issues in New Zealand. Also, I think he's also dealing with a neck injury as well, so couldn't get Henare over in time for this. So yeah, like I said, based on what they could do, this is what made the most sense. I do think Tangaloa is going to be the surprise sleeper. I think he's going to surprise some people. I think he's improved tremendously since we've started covering New Japan, and I think he's low-key raw. And, with him not having to really tag with Tama Tonga and kind of do his own thing, I think we can see some great stuff from him.
I used to be the guy that just swore after every move. He's moved on. He's grown.
Yeah.
Bigger guy.
So which block looks better to you overall?
I mean, Block A's got Yano in it. It's got that. For me, he's an absolutely vital pick in that because the G1 is such a serious competition and it's such a long and grueling competition as well. For me, having a comedic relief is who serves an actual. The serious side that he serves is stealing points from people. Like he can beat. He's literally the one guy in this competition that can beat anybody. You just don't know who it's going to be. And he's not going to be consistent. He's going to lose a lot. And I like the idea of, because it's such a wear and tear kind of tournament, everyone gets a night off with Yano. Like, you get to just piss about. You get to get tied to guardrails and tied up in a knot left there. You can have a bit of fun for a night. And I appreciate that he kind of, everyone there gets a little bit of a cover, because him giving them that match means that when they have their big matches, the big matches are able to be a little bit more mental. Because Jesus Christ, there are some hard-hitting, incredible G1 matches. So yeah, I'm all for also not forgetting who else is in that block with Kota Ibushi, Naito, Shingo, Ishii. Oh yeah, actually that's the other point. It's also got Ishii in it.
Right, that's what I was going to say. I'm also looking forward to the A block because Ishii's in it, and Ishii is always the MVP of the G1. He's going to kill himself to make sure he has great performances every night. And you can't go wrong with Ishii versus Ibushi, Ishii versus Shingo, Ishii versus Naito, Ishii versus Sak. And I'm really looking forward to Ishii versus the Great Okan. They started teasing that at Wrestle Grand Slam. And, Great Okan, he's had a few highlight moments, but I think a Never style matchup with Ishii is going to be something great for him.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff at play. Some heavy hitters, some consistent performers. I think that maybe B Block is missing a little bit. That said, B Block's got some which are, you got Okada still, you got Tanahashi, you've got the new age Ishii and Jeff Cobb. You've got a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, I feel like with the B Block, you kind of have some like mid-card underrated guys that do really good. Like Goto's going to have some great matches. Yoshihashi's going to have some really good matches. Taichi's going to have some really good matches. Cobb is going to have some really good matches. But those are not guys you would typically like circle. Like, I'm definitely looking out for those guys, like you would like a Shingo or Ishii. But I think all those guys are going to have good performances. But I do think Tanahashi and Okada are going to have a heavy load here, especially when it comes to facing off against Evil, Tama Tonga, and Chase Owens.
Yeah, it's a weird block, the B. I think that's kind of what sticks out to me. Is the B block's a little bit more weird because you can see the clear kind of differences in the block itself. You got the top end, which is incredible, and then very, very like, what are even in this tournament for? Like, they're clearly not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Then last question here about G1 from Dom Homie 101. Thoughts on this year's G1 lineup? Does it feel like New Japan is missing out on an opportunity to put a couple of strong guys into the tournament? What matches are you guys looking forward to?
I mean, obviously, in terms of, does he mean literal strong as in New Japan strong, or does he just mean heavier picks?
I'm guessing he means New Japan strong. Like we talked about, none of those strong guys have worked visas, so it's not. I'm sure they would have loved to bring in a Chris Dickinson, a Filthy Tom, into this tournament, but they couldn't because of the visa situation. Plus, they're now doing strong tapings through the G1. You have the Philly tour, the Texas tour, the Autumn Attack, and you have the big Battle in the Valley coming up. There's a lot of stuff happening for New Japan Strong. You need the top stars, so even if they could send strong people over with all these tours, you might get some of the bottom strong guys versus some of the top strong guys.
Yeah, I feel like when New Japan Strong has 100% worked in that if there wasn't a pandemic and it wasn't all of this, the G1 this year would be incredibly stacked.
It'd be insane.
Yeah, there's the guys they've got there. Like, the G1, whenever things finally open up, it's going to be an incredible tournament. Because they were talking about potentially making it different and kind of semi-expanding it to 3 groups. The New Japan Strong guys, if they get over there, they've got the talent to do it. Currently, it's very blatant they don't, and there's quite a lot of filler in this year's G1.
Yeah. And any matchup that you're really looking forward to?
I mean, again, I said Zack Sabre Jr. versus... yeah, no, because it was so good last time. But I guess Shingo Ishii, 100%. Looking forward to that one. I mean, that's the opening match as well, for a reason. Also, I mean, Ishii Naito is always fantastic. Ibushi Naito. And it's the pairing of those people. The pairings of Naito, Shingo, Ishii, and Ibushi, just swap them around. Every single one of them is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I think Ishii Shingo is definitely one of the most ones I'm very excited for, and we're getting that on the first night. But also, like I mentioned, that Ishii Great Okan match, I think is going to do some great stuff for Great Okan, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes as well. And then, Ishii and Naito, those guys are kind of have a low-key kind of rivalry that always ends up in some great bangers, so that's going to be another one to look out for, too.
See, Ishii special. Like, you don't realise, like, oh, yeah, they've got this little thing bubbling under, and my God, they're incredible. So good.
And like I said, next week, Chris Sampson will be here. We'll do a full G1 preview, kind of talk about the guys' records, who we think has a chance of winning, go over some more of the schedule. Also, we are working on the details for our G1 contest for this year, so hopefully we'll have all the details together for that to be able to announce next week as well. So now we're going to move on real quick into New Japan Strong. You probably didn't get a chance to watch any of this, did you, Imp?
No, I've not even watched Raw and SmackDown last week. Well, because with SmackDown, I watched Rampage, and it was straight into Wrestle Grand Slam, and then I've still got a life. I can't sit here watching wrestling all day.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see SmackDown last week, but yeah, full. It was all out on Sunday as well.
Yeah,
it was a jam-packed weekend.
But I'll run through this real quick. So we had New Japan Strong episode 56, still in front of the empty arena. The crowd tapings start on the 18th, I believe. So we had Josh Alexander, the walking weapon. He defeated Daniel Garcia to open the show here in the barbecue brawl. And I thought this was a really good matchup here between Alexander and Daniel Garcia. Very grapple-based submission, a lot of great counters, a lot of throws. I went 3.75 on this match. I want to see more of Alexander and Daniel Garcia here on New Japan Strong. Don't know what that's going to look like with Alexander being an Impact guy, Daniel Garcia clearly being courted by AEW. But these guys are a welcome addition to Strong and a really good matchup here. Then the second matchup, we had TJP defeating Ray Horus. A little bit of a story here. The last time these guys faced, Ray Horus got the win. So TJP gets some revenge here, evens up the score, gets the win over Ray Horus. And then in the main event, we had Bullet Club's Hikuleo defeating Matt Morris, formerly Aiden English of WWE fame, in a quick 9-minute, 44-second match. Nothing too special about this one. Pretty much just Hikuleo being dominant. Again, like we mentioned the last time Matt Morris was on, he's fine, but I don't really want to see that much more of him here on Strong. So, and then next week, or this week's coming up for episode 57, they're having the LA Dojo Showcase number 2. We'll have the DKC face Kevin Knight, Clark Connors face Alex Coughlin, and then the main event, Ren Narita will face Carl Fredericks. So, all good stuff here, and just a few weeks away until we can get the tapings with fans in attendance, which should make this show even more enjoyable to watch. And now we'll transition over to some news items here. So first thing, we had All Out this past weekend. We had the Death Rider, Jon Moxley. He defeated the Strongest Arm, the leader of the Bread Club, Satoshi Kojima. We also had a post-match attack from Murder Grandpa Suzuki. So Dom, Homie 101, ask us thoughts on the overall match of Jon Moxley versus Satoshi Kojima.
I thought it over-delivered it, personally. I saw quite a lot of people either didn't know who Kojima was and weren't that excited, or given the rest of the card, that this was it. Or I see, as soon as it wasn't Tanahashi and it was another a legend, it was a lot of the hype from people kind of went. Whilst I knew the power of bread. I knew. When Kojima came to our country, we gave him like 5 different brands of loaves. he was a fed man. He was happy, and they had a really good match. Given the expectations, I think they did over deliver. Got a lot of people on board, and it was the absolute perfect setup for what came next. And it's to me, it's absolutely crazy that they had a match like that. And then they swerve you by bringing out Minoru Suzuki to an incredible mega pop, where for me this is a great examples of but how would the casuals? They didn't know who he is. This is nothing to them. It's like, seriously, a casual would take nothing away from a pop like that. As in, they know immediately that this guy is something special or serious. Just the whole presentation, the mini fight with Moxley afterwards as well. It's perfect presentation to go, this is a big deal. Any fan will pick that up. Like, you don't need to know who Minoru Suzuki is. And then they have the gall to book it for tomorrow. Jesus Christ. It's when they're hyping up what's going to happen, especially what happened at the end of the show as well. I get such an incredible pay-per-view, an incredible night. But I think there's all the stuff with Ruby Soho debuting on the show. Learned her song before it went live. It's in my head. And there's you got Daniel Bryan still there. We've got the whole Adam Cole stuff with the Elite. I don't know if everybody's going to be on the show. There's all of the fallout. There's Lucha Bros as tag team champions. There's so much going on. And then the main event is Jon Moxley versus Suzuki. It's like, my God, Jesus Christ. Incredible. Kojima Moxley knocks it out of the park, and then Suzuki. I think I was saying to Jeremy before it came on air, it takes a lot to for wrestling to give me goosebumps or genuinely get me like that. Suzuki's debut, when his music properly hit and there was that mega pop, I got goosebumps. It caught me so off guard, and I'm not afraid to say it. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, this was a great little moment here for New Japan. First, a Kojima match. Everybody knows I'm a huge Kojima fan, and I thought it was great for him to get this spotlight, work with Moxley. I thought the match was very, very good. You know, that hard-hitting, almost never-style matchup here. I know there probably were some people who didn't know Kojima, but he got a great pop, got a great reaction. I'm gonna need the Chicago fans to learn his his catchphrase when he's doing chops in the corner. He yells "Echauzo Bacayero," So everybody needs to learn that the next time Kojima is in action here in the U.S. But yeah, great stuff there. But Moxley puts him down with the Paradigm Shift. And then, like we mentioned, yeah, the angle was Suzuki coming out. And we all knew Suzuki was coming to the U.S., but it didn't seem like he would be here for maybe another week or so. So I was also surprised and very excited when Suzuki came out. And we got the face off, and then we got the strong style exchange, and Suzuki dropped them on his head for the gotch. And we're getting that, like you mentioned, tomorrow on Dynamite, which will be great. Chicago crowd, they knew Kaze ni Nare, so that was great. That was the first time in a long time that we were able to hear a full crowd, chant Kaze ni Nare, so that was incredible. So yeah, just a great moment here. I'm loving the Moxley versus the Olds of Japan feud, and yeah, it's awesome.
It did make. I find it quite interesting. People who haven't really seen Suzuki before or know of him but don't watch too much of Japanese wrestling, and their reaction to Suzuki kind of like gesturing to the crowd, like, "Come on, you know what to do." He was like, "Oh, you can tell that the reaction was more. Oh, you can tell he's so pumped to actually have a crowd be able to sing it that he's gesturing at them." And I was like, "I don't know. It's Suzuki. It's more of a you best sing it
Yes.
kind of thing." Yeah. Like, no. It's a threat. Don't get it wrong.
I will gotch power drive every person in this arena.
Oh, cousin in
So in other news, this year's World Tag League and Best of Super Juniors tournaments will run concurrently for the second year in a row. New Japan confirmed the two tournaments this morning. They will start on November 13th in Korakuen Hall and will conclude December 15th in the Ryogoku Sumo Hall. Question here from Grunty Dodds. Presuming they go for another 10-man single block Best of Super Junior this year, who gets left out? You have the 8 juniors on Wrestle Grand Slam, plus Wato, Taguchi, and Doki all going for a spot.
And Doki just had that match with Hiro, which caught a lot of people off guard. So I feel like he might be a lock for the Best of the Super Juniors.
I mean, he was in the tournament last year. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up right now. I feel like it'll
be like pretty much the same guys, I would think. There won't be that much of a difference, minus the outside. I can't remember there being that many fun guys in the Best Super Juniors.
So last year we had Despy, Hiromu, Taiji, Sho, Bushi, Wato, Eagles, Taguchi, Doki, and Yumura.
It could be the exact same people. Or is Yumura on Excursion?
Right. So I think you just slide Yo in Yumura's spot, and I think that's a pretty tight lineup right there.
Yeah, just have the exact same lineup, but slot in Yo. Yeah.
But yeah, with it doing with World Tag League, it definitely looks like it's going to be a single block tournament, unfortunately.
I don't know who you'd pick for that one either.
Yeah, I think it would probably either be like Sho, Hiromu, or Despy would probably be the top 3 candidates.
Sho and Yujiro Takahashi.
Oh, boy.
They're in the stable now.
Yikes. We have some more news on COVID. Unfortunately, Shooter Shota Umino tested positive for COVID, so he was removed from the Rev Pro show coming up. And also another positive COVID test, Will Ospreay tested positive for COVID. He says he's fully vaccinated and only experienced mild symptoms. Said he feels like he has a cold, and he will also be out of action this week, but expects to be back in for Rev Pro High Stakes on the 19th. And Ospreay also going to be planning to working more of the U.S. going forward, and it's going to be planning on making U.S. trips at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. Ospreay will also be appearing at the Jericho Cruise, but he will not be wrestling. They made that very clear. He'll just be appearing and be a special guest, but he will not be wrestling any of the AEW guys on the cruise. Also, other Ospreay news, some matches announced for the upcoming Autumn Attack tour in Dallas-Fort Worth. So Ospreay is going to be teaming with a mystery partner to take on Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors. So that was added to the Autumn Attack tour, and so they're teasing the idea of Ospreay, new mystery partner, as the 5th member of the United Empire. We have a question here from Mark Nato 90. Who do you think Ospreay's mystery partner will be for Autumn Attack? Someone from Rev Pro, someone already on Strong, aligning with United Empire.
Bronson Reed.
Hey,
Jonah Rock.
He's free. It could free. Be him.
Yeah. I don't. I was just thinking of like who's currently free that could do it. And I generally don't know who on earth he's going to pick.
Yeah, I mean the free agent market is booming right now. So I mean there are a ton of guys, but if it wasn't going to be a surprise, I think the most logical answer will be TJP, just because of the angle that happened at Resurgence, where Ospreay was kind of saying, TJP is the babysitter of the LA dojo, and he's not living up to who he should be, and so people already hate TJP. So I could see him kind of turning on the LA dojo boys and joining Ospreay and joining United Empire.
Oh, okay, yeah. If there's been a little angle, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Papa Ospreay trying to get him to be good.
Yeah, but they also could do a surprise and bring in, like you mentioned, a Jonah Rock or somebody else who's on the free agent scene.
See, when companies act like the wider wrestling world exists, suddenly I've got a surprise partner. Suddenly, but there's thousands. So good.
Also added to Autumn Attack, the never openweight champion Jay White will be facing Red Def Daniel Garcia on September 26th. New Japan Strong Openweight champion Philly Tom Lawler will be facing Ren Narita on the 25th, while Juice Robinson, Leo Rush, Clark Connors, and TJP will face Hikuleo, Chris Bay, Taiji Ishimori, and ELP in the 8-man tag on the 25th. So Chris Bay, he's now officially a part of Bullet Club and will be here teaming with his Bullet Club brethren. So, Imp, you're getting more Chris Bay in New Japan.
Yes. As soon as it was announced, I was like, yes, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Great to see Chris Bay in there as well. And also Daniel Bryan's son, Daniel Garcia.
Then also added to Autumn Attack, this came just a few minutes ago, IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Robbie Eagles will be coming to Texas for the Autumn Attack Tour. So New Japan really loading up these strong shows. And then for the upcoming New Japan Showdown taping in Orlando, we got some new names announced. Jake Atlas, Alex Zane, Jonathan Gresham, and Chris Bay have all been added to New Japan Showdown. Those tapings are happening in Philadelphia in the ECW Arena Saturday, October 16th and Sunday, October 17th.
It's gearing up.
Yeah. New Japan Strong, man, is looking really great with the talent they're bringing in and direction they're going.
Yeah, I'm really happy Atlas and Zane have been immediately brought in as well. Especially Alex Zane, who wasn't in NXT. I know he was signed there, but
he had one or two matches on TV.
Yeah, it's just like, because he was just one of those names. It's like, that's good. I'll be interested to see how he features in NXT, the super indie world. He could do quite well in NXT. It's like he wasn't even there.
Right.
Yeah. Jake Atlas, another one that I really liked, and I've just found it strange that some changes made to him, and they never really gave him any program to work with. And the people he's working with, good things came out of them, but Jake Atlas never really got his turn. Like Swerve got the amazing stable with Hit Row. For the love of God, with the new NXT revamp, keep Hit Row, please. That's so good.
Yeah, hopefully Hit Row stays intact and continues to get pushed, but I don't know. They're not all bodybuilders, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out for all of them.
They've got, I can't remember his name, but I called him Faux Latter. The big guy. It's because when they first, what's the big guy called in Hit Row?
Wow. Blanking on his name right now.
Was it just Top Dollar?
Yeah, it is Top Dollar. Yeah.
Top Dollar. Yes, yeah. When he first appeared in any of the vignettes, Swerve was giving a 2-camera in his studio, and and they had the people all blurred out in the background, and Top Dollar was on the on the kind of producer's deck. He was doing all the stuff. So immediately I'm like, I'm calling you faux latter. Then I saw who he actually was. I was like, oh, not to his face, though. No.
We also have some news coming out of Defy Wrestling out of Seattle. They had back-to-back sold-out shows on the 27th and 28th at Washington Hall. On the second night, Clark Connors defeated Rocky Romero in what was reported as an excellent match. And then Romero announced a partnership with Defy and New Japan Strong, and that he would return and bring people from the company with him. Then for Game Changer Wrestling, they just added another matchup to their September 24th show in New York. Taiji Ishimori will be facing Tony Deppen in a big singles match. This is the same show that's going to have Suzuki versus Homicide. So New Japan guys.
There's another Tony Deppen match that got announced today, which I'm quite excited about.
I don't think I saw that one. Which one? What was that?
Von Funches.
What?
Versus Tony Deppen.
What?
Like, yes. It's obviously a comedy thing.
Wow.
I just need to triple check. Did I just see that without any context? And Von Funches at the top of my feed. That's convenient. Yeah, his background on Twitter on Funches is for GCW Highest in the Room.
Mm.
That's the name of the show, and it's him and Deppen on on the thing. So it's happening. Von Funches is wrestling, kind of.
Interesting here. Well, last piece of news here. There's been a lot of questioning on what New Japan's relationship is with CMLL. There was a video message from Sugabayashi, director of New Japan, sending his congratulations to CMLL for their 88th anniversary and wishing the best for them and wishing that they will be able to resume soon. And they will also want to continue to do Fantastica Mania. So as of right now, it still sounds like that partnership is still intact, and that once COVID clears up, we will get our annual Fantastica Mania and Luchadors back in New Japan.
Yeah, sometimes one of the best shows of the year, and sometimes I could completely missable. I can't. You can never predict what kind of Fantastica Mania you're going to get.
Yeah. And then just one off-topic question right here. I know, Dom Homie, I know you asked a bunch of fight questions, but that's Young Boy's specialty. He's not here this week, so whenever he comes back, we'll get to those fight questions. But we got this one question here from Hawaiian Punch VV. When COVID hopefully eventually goes away, how excited would you be in seeing Bryan Danielson and CM Punk coming over for some matches? Do you think the cuts to 170 help CM Punk get in better shape for his AEW match than in his entire WWE career?
Well, on the first part, I think Punk has said that he doesn't have any personal desire to work outside of AEW. I think the line was, if Tony Khan wants him to go somewhere else, he'll happily do it on behalf of AEW, but he's not like Bryan. He doesn't have a desire to work elsewhere. He's not John Moxley wanting to face Nick Cage. Sorry, Nick Gage, not Nick Cage.
That's a whole different matchup.
But Bryan Danielson. I think we were talking about it earlier. Bryan Danielson, his signing with AEW pretty much secretly debuted him for New Japan, and that's really exciting. Just I thought it's pretty much confirmed now that it's going to be happening. Daniel Bryan will be in New Japan. The question is just when, and if his comments about not really wanting to do the quarantine because he does have a family, then maybe it might be a while before he debuts in New Japan, but it's going to happen.
Well, it could happen sooner if they let him work New Japan Strong.
It's a workaround, yeah.
Yeah, so we've seen Moxley is able to work Strong. Moxley was on Resurgence. If it works out, you could potentially have, Bryan Danielson show up at a Strong taping, show up at a Strong pay-per-view, and get his New Japan in that way until he can get over to Japan.
And on the cutting, it's not a word I know that much about, but I do know, I was listening to Punk's interview on All Sessions with Renee Paquette.
Yeah.
Yes, Punk did grill her on the name. It's like, come on. Like, you know what you're doing. But yeah, he was saying the first cut, it went really well for his first fight. And it seemed to all go like relatively well. It felt like he was making good ground. The second cut went absolutely horrifically. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, and it was a hell of an experience. It was not a good time. And he 100% attributes how bad it went into the fight, but part of it, I guess, the mentality of everything. In his words, is like the cut didn't go well, and other things happened, and then he got the crap beat out of him. Why would he then kind of belittle the achievement of the other fighter who beat the crap out of him? It's like, no, I rightfully got the crap beaten out of me. It's like yeah, kudos to him. He beat me up. It's like, yeah. But the answer might be maybe. You'd learn stuff. Cutting weight for wrestling is very different than it is for UFC or mixed martial arts, and because you got a lot more kind of leeway of what you want to do. It's not as you have to be here, otherwise it ain't happening type of thing, which I guess really helps. He just has to be in shape, and I guess the other part that comes with that is actually wrestling, because it's a bit closer to like a seasonal sport in that the only way you get match fit is by playing matches. There's no other way replicating it.
Right.
It's not possible. So as he's wrestling more and more, that'll probably help out. He looked to be in great shape, though.
Yeah, I thought he looked great, especially for, not wrestling for 7 years. And, yeah, I definitely do think, the UFC stint probably did help him with, staying in shape and the conditioning. And then he's been active. He still does a lot of, like, MMA training or, kind of rolling around the side. And so I thought he looked great, and looking forward to seeing more of him in action. And, yeah, I would love for him and Brian to come over to New Japan. So last thing here, recommended match of the week. So last week, Young Boy recommended the big Sekigun versus Ishin Gundam gauntlet match, which was Riki Chosu's team versus Inoki's team. And this big elimination gauntlet style matchup. Awesome matchup. If you guys have not watched it yet, I did tweet out the link to it last week, so you can look on our Twitter for the link. It's not on New Japan World, but it's a really cool gauntlet style matchup. I like the idea of doing it where it's, you start off with 2 team members, then one gets pinned, and then they come out instead of just all of them already out there, Survivor Series style. Also, a ton of backstory going into this with Riki Chosu and his army leaving and kind of disrespecting New Japan, and this was kind of the big kind of blow off here. The first time that Choshu and Inoki getting in the ring together, wrestling each other. It came down to those guys being the last 2, and just hearing that live, New Japan crowd again, just being so excited, and just the great like false finishes where Choshu got Inoki in the Scorpion Deathlock, and then thinking he was going to tap, but it came down to Inoki getting the octopus stretch in, and a ref stoppage, and Suzuki got the win there for the home team. And yeah, really, really fun matchup. You guys definitely need to check that out. And then my pick for this week's recommended match of the week is Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito from the 2016 G1 Climax. So,
absolute banger.
Yeah, this awesome match should definitely help us get ready for G1 season. Imp, man, I want to thank you so much again for joining me this week and filling in tough times.
No problem. I am going to crash to bed. It's 10 to 4 in the morning. 10 to 4 morning. 2 days after I did a 7:30 a.m. and then 2 days before I'm going to bed at like 2 a.m. on like a Thursday as well. So I'm going to be dead. But, yeah.
Well, before you go, one last time, give your plug so our listeners can find you online and find all your great work.
You can find me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as a damn. And that had no gusto to it. Nothing. Oh, I'm sorry, Lord Farouk. I've let you down. But yeah, also I write for Wrestling Headlines. I review Raw for Wrestling Headlines. So go check that out. Or at least leave a like or whatever. yeah, it's an hour-long review of Monday Night Raw. You know, it's reviewing a crap show. A like for the pain. Yeah. So I'm planning to review Dynamite. My first time reviewing Dynamite this Thursday as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think that's everything I've got to plug. There probably is more stuff happening all the time I never remember.
I think it sounds like we're going to be doing a weekly G1 column for WrestlingHeadlines.com.
Last year, yes. So for the past, is it 2 years? I think myself and Sir Sam have done the G1, where at the end of the week of each week of the G1, we'd do like our top matches of that week, top performers. Just like a little reminder of how the actual tables are going, and with our own little table of who's the MVP of the entire tournament, as to give out like MVPs of it all. Spoilers, it's always Ishii. Yes. But yeah, so and if I'm right, latter it whipped into us 1 year. It was just like, what are you doing with these other people on this list? But yeah, so that will be hopefully taking place. Every like Friday, we'll try and get that posted for the end of the week of the G1, and that's because 1 year, I think in 2018 for that G1, which was an absolutely amazing G1. That's one with an absolutely stacked B block with like Ishii and Kenny Omega, and Yano was in that block as well. What an incredible year! I posted a column article within like 2 hours of every single G1 that aired. And immediately the next year, I was like, do you want to do something else, Sam? I don't want to do that again. So end of week stuff. Hopefully that'll be out in timely fashion. Sam always posts it, so I've got pressure this time.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for that. WrestlingHeadlines.com. Like we mentioned, next week we'll be back to do our big G1 Climax 31 preview show with Chris Samsa. Also should have details for our G1 contest, so stay tuned for that. And again, also keep the young boy, Josh Smith, keep his family and him in your thoughts and prayers this week. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. I am at Jeremy L. Donovan. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me, facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, jeremy@socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rachel Latta and James Boyd. We have The Grave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati. 8-Bit Suplex with Josh number 2. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And The Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
If you've ever been a renter, you know it's stressful to find a place with everything you love and nothing you don't. But did you know Zillow does rentals? It makes the search so easy. They have filters for pretty much everything, so you can find that place that's in your budget, but also isn't a shoebox. Or a place that's close to your parents, but far enough they have to call first. Plus, it's easy to apply, request tours, and pay rent in the app. Head to ZillowRentals.com and find your sweet spot.
Headlines and hot takes, they have their place. But at our podcast, ESPN Daily, we don't just skim the surface of sports. Dude, I mean, this clearly transcends blood feuds, rivalries, sports. This is something far, far deeper than that. I'm your host, Pablo Torre, and every day we try to dive into the stories behind the athletes.
The picture of him in the dugout afterwards just looked like a guy who'd had his heart ripped out.
Listen to ESPN Daily wherever you get your podcasts.